situation, then we might or might not add another counselor.
Thank you. Next question. In your opinion, what is the biggest challenge the school board is currently facing?
I think that Mike already brought it up with, it's COVID. It's keeping our current plan in place. It's keeping our kids in the hallways, our teachers in the classrooms. Going back to complete distance learning to me is not an option. We need to keep what we're doing and adapt to what COVID is throwing at us. Another challenge, I think, is we're going to have to find a sweet spot with our activities. We have probably the most activities of any school our size, but the question is that hurting us? Are we sacrificing quantity for quality? With electives, with sports, with arts, I challenge anyone to say that there's a school out there the size of Crookston that offers as many programs as we have, but we're going to have to take a look at what can we do to make them better, and do we really need to be offering what we're offering?
The biggest challenges that I believe the school board currently facing is obviously COVID is number one. That surprises no one in this room or on the video stream. As Jason said, I agree completely with all his points as far as the COVID. The issues that I see that we really have to look at is the state of Minnesota gives us per pupil funding. With the deficit the state of Minnesota is going to face in the next biennium is going to be huge. I don't know what's going to happen with our funding from the state. We have to be cognizant of the fact that that may be reduced. The state does some different things called shifting of funding, so they hold back money and they don't give it to you on a timely basis, and we have to fill that gap. The student achievement is also, with COVID, is a huge issue that I want to make sure that we address in the future, as well as now. I see our students slipping, and we can't have that.
Clearly, COVID is the root cause of all evil here, it seems, but the achievement gap is a huge issue for our school, and it was a huge issue prior to COVID as well. Basically, we have a committee, the world's best workforce, made up of staff, made up of community members and other interested personnel, and we are dealing with that. I think these efforts need to continue and need to be speeded up. I'm excited by the addition of a Latinx liaison, Mrs. Katia Zapata. I think that will make an effort. We have about 25% of our student population is Latinx, and they are currently pretty underrepresented in terms of people that they can relate to. And I think we made a step in the right direction, and I want to make sure that we keep going that way.
Hello. Being the last one to answer questions, I should just say ditto to everybody and then just let it go at that. I mean, you should start questions with other people. But anyway, it's COVID in 2020. That is the problem, as everybody has stated. But as Dave and Mike have attested to, our staff here and our administration has stepped up to the challenge. We knew we had a good staff. Now we know we have a great staff who are the real heroes of what's going on here in the school district. But I think to manage through 2020 and come out, as far as the Crookston School District, we're in good shape. I think the audit's going to come out and show us that we have a balanced budget or beyond a balanced budget and be in the black. But as Mike said, we have to guard against what's going to happen from the legislature after that period is up, hopefully soon.
Thank you. Next question. What marketing plan would you put in place to help grow student enrollment?
The sad fact is student enrollment's not going to go up anytime soon. And that's not on us necessarily. That's just demographics. We don't have families with 6, 7, 8 kids anymore. We've got families of 1 or 2 kids. We don't, look at our class sizes. We're not graduating 150, we're graduating in the hundreds, and it's going to go down and probably level off in the 80s maybe. So we're fooling ourselves when we think that we're going to increase enrollment. The best we can do is steal students away from other schools, and I don't like to use that term. So we need to make Crookston a shining beacon on this prairie. We need to make it a place of academic excellence, athletics excellence, arts excellence, a place where people say, I want to go to that school. And we can start by trying to increase our participation numbers. We have lowest participation numbers of any school around us when it comes to activities. We need to make all things available to our students.
A marketing plan that I would and have been participating in with the current school board is I have a little different philosophy on extracurriculars, whether it be fine arts or sports. Students have a passion, and I want to include as many as I can. At some point in time, yes, it comes down to dollars and cents, and I understand that in participation numbers and where all those numbers lie. But if somebody has a passion for some item that's not as popular as football or basketball, I still want that student to be able to participate in the thing that they're passionate about. That's a very fine tightrope to walk, to try to monetarily pay for those items, as well as keep those students active. The inclusivity in our school under Superintendent Olson has gone up. I'll echo the Hispanic liaison and Indian liaison. We have to bring those students, those unrepresented students, into our fold more.
I think that most things in education are based on communication, and I think communication is at the heart of what we're trying to do better at in terms of marketing our school. I think if we do the best job of marketing and letting people know about our successes, letting people know that openly that we are facing our challenges and we understand that they're there, but we're not ignoring them, and we're doing the best we possibly can. Once we've done that, let them come. But we have to do those things anyway, and we can't be seen or thought to be doing these communication things because it'll draw more kids. We need to do that because that's what you do if you're in public office, is you're transparent, and you try to do the best you can.
I think our enrollment is 1096 now. We budgeted for 1115. So that way we're doing okay. But I think Jason is right. There isn't the students here anymore. So how do we keep the kids from going to Climax and Fisher? I mean, that's really what's going on. How do we get them back? Or if we maybe don't even worry about that, how do we keep them in our schools? We keep doing what we're doing. They'll figure out that Kim Davidson is a great teacher and they're going to have her, or Miss Soley up here at the high school, or whatever teacher. That's how we do it. We did hire a social media company through Dr. Olson, and to get that message out there more, that like other schools are doing. So hopefully that will help us. But we just have to keep banging away at the good things that we do here.
All right, thank you. Final question. What would be a priority if the district had to make significant cuts?
I'm not going to fool anyone and say I have all the answers there, because I don't. But what I will say is that all things should be on the table, and we need to take a look at sports, we need to take a look at arts, we need to take a look at some of our electives that maybe we would have, anything that we can do. Maybe we need to turn the thermostat down in the school a degree or two. We need to look at everything that we can to try to meet those the needs for those. So I'm open-minded to all of that. Again, maybe we need to right-size some of our activities. I don't want anyone losing jobs, but we do seem to be staffed pretty well, and we have a lot of duplication and even triplication of services between the 3 schools that we have. So maybe we need to take a look at some of those things through attrition, perhaps.
The sole reason, or the main reason, I should say, for the existence of our school district is the education of our students. That needs to be the priority of any school board. Everything else is secondary to educating our children. Without a well-educated workforce in the future, things will be not good for our children, and that's not acceptable to me. It's never a popular situation to look at those other items, sports, extracurriculars, fine arts, but accountability-wise, we have to, I agree with Jason, have everything on the table. We have to be open, transparent, and communicate with our taxpayers and our parents, as well as the students, to be able to make the best decision possible as a board. It's not going to be easy, but those are the reality that we will be faced in the future.
I think it's impossible to make these kinds of decisions without input from the community, and I would hope that citizens would be contacting school board members with their ideas and plans. And I know sometimes that can be contradictory and people are shooting each other in the feet and so forth, but I think it's really important. My personal point of view would be you protect the heart of education, which is a teacher in a classroom with kids at all costs. That's the most important thing we do. So, Mike, I'm agreeing with what you said. I think you said it more eloquently than me, but that's the way I really feel strongly about that.
I agree with Mike and Dave, so that's about, it depends on when the cuts, I'm not going to make any controversial calls here on a probability or something might happen down the road. So, but if you tell me tomorrow we have to cut, then we won't go for a referendum for a football field. I mean, so it depends when, how. Right now I said that have a balanced budget. Will that last after the next biennium? Who knows? I don't know. But we have to protect education, our staff. That's the only way we're going to keep kids coming to, or keeping kids in our school and maybe even coming here. So again, I don't feel comfortable making any statements about what the priority should be when it's on something, a probability down the road.
All right, thank you all. That concludes our 5 chosen questions, and what we'd like to do now is allow 1 minute for closing comments by each candidate.
Well, thank you for having us here tonight. Thank you, everyone, for being able to come and watch online. Also like to wish Mike and Amy a happy 25th anniversary. Picked a heck of a date night. And what all of these candidates here on stage have in common with me is at one time they were sitting in my shoes as the challenger. So it does put me at a little bit of a disadvantage with such a fine group of people up here that have a wealth of experience when it comes to this. I'm still learning this. I'm not going to fool you. I'm still learning this, but I hope and I ask that enough people take a chance on me, and thank you for your support. Thank you for your vote.
I too would like to thank you all for coming tonight. I would ask that you realize that everybody sitting up here on the stage cares about our school and our children. That's a priority, or none of us would be up here if we didn't have that deep in our hearts and passion. I would ask that the voters take a look at what the board's done. Measure me by what I've done in the last year when I came on the board. I'm a little bit of a tightwad, in case the community is not familiar with that. I'll freely admit that. I think Dave and Frank know, as well as Jason. I'm available to the public. I try my best to respond. My cell phone's out there. The last year I worked on the negotiations committee. That's where we have to work together and compromise. I think compromise is a good thing. I've done that the last year. I look forward to, if re-elected, to working with the superintendent as well as staff and the board, to push our district to where it should be and can be. Thank you.
I hope to be able to continue working for District 593. I have always felt like I owed this community and I owed this school district a lot because I spent the vast majority of my career here working with Crookston kids, and I'd like to keep doing it in that way. However, I will find a way to be involved in Crookston schools regardless of what happens in the election. I think that we need to have a steady hand at the till on this. I think that that Frank is the chairperson, and I hope to be able to work with him again as we continue this battle against COVID. And I'd just like you to know that it's been an honor for me to work with the school board that we have right now.
Thanks, Dave. Like Jason said, I'm still learning too, even after going over 12 years here. You learn something. You better hopefully learn something all the time, which I do. But I think we're in a good, it's hard to say this when we have COVID going on, but we're in a good place right now as far as financially for the school. So are we in a good place with where we are with the students and the staff? Probably not. The staff is overworked, probably underpaid, certainly underpaid now for what they're doing. So that's, but do they complain? No, they don't. They just go out there and do their job and to the best of their ability, which is certainly better than most. So I hope to be on another 4 years. My wife hopes too, so it'll keep me out of the house. And happy anniversary to Amy. Amy used to work for me at one time there. She was a pretty good worker, Mike. Thank you very much for putting this on again and allowing us to give our views.
All right, that concludes our school board candidates. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. And yes. We'll enter into a 5-minute turn and burn with some disinfection and be back with you.
You're in tune to the Voice of the Valley, AM 1260 KROX in Crookston, Minnesota. You're listening to the Meet the Candidates Forum, and apologize for some of those technical difficulties early on, but we have them all figured out, and you got most of the school board session. Dave Davidson, Mike Tice, and Frank Fee all seeking re-election. Jason Clinert was also in the forum. Unfortunately, Marcia Miney was not able to make it. So there will be 3 spots open for school board. Dave Davidson, Mike Tice, and Frank Fee running for re-election. The challengers are Marcia Miney and Jason Clinert. Coming up next, we're going to have the Crookston City Council in Ward 1. It will be Jake Fee as the incumbent, being challenged by Christy Jurdy. In Ward 3, Clayton Briggs is the incumbent, being challenged by Blake Royal. In Ward 5, Joe Kressel is the incumbent, being challenged by Casey Anderson and Mark Palmer. At large, City Council, Bobby Barrett is the incumbent, being challenged by Morgan Hibma and Wayne Melby. So that's what's going to be coming up here. We're going to have quite a few people that will be participating. Obviously, we have 10 total for City Council. Then coming up later this evening, scheduled for a start time of about 7:50, we will have the Polk County Commissioners, District 1, Jerry Jacobson, being challenged by Travis Johnson. 3rd District, Gary Wilhite, he's the incumbent, and nobody's challenging Gary. And the 5th District, Mark Hawley and Tim Finseth will be running. Don Diedrich announced he will not run again as he is retiring from Polk County Commissionership. And then at about 8:15 this evening, we'll have District 1B. Representative Deb Keel is the incumbent, and she is being challenged by Cindy Ansbacher. And then at about 8:40 this evening, again, these are all rough estimates, incumbent Assistant Chief 9th District Judge is Jana Osted. And then for the Assistant Chief 9th District Judge, James Hughes. And then the incumbent is Charles Halverson and Ben Lindstrom, all running for those spots. And then Senator for District 1, we'll have incumbent Mark Johnson being challenged by Reed Perkins, and both of them will be here as well. So that's what we have. Again, they're cleaning down the tables, and we should be ready to go here with the City Council. Again, Ward 1, Jake Fee, the incumbent, being challenged by Christy Jurdy. And Ward 3, Clayton Briggs, the incumbent, being challenged by Blake Royal. Ward 5, Joe Kressel's the incumbent, being challenged by Casey Anderson.
Yes, if you'd like, as city council candidates, you can come up
And at large will be Bobby Baird, the incumbent, being challenged by Morgan Hibma and Wayne Melby. So Lance Norman of Riverview Health will be asking the questions, and we will have that coming up here shortly as the city, all those vying for the city council spot, they are getting onto the stage now. So stay tuned.
Carrie, are you ready? All right. Welcome, City Council candidates. I'll quickly go through names again. I'm sure video is picking up on the desks or tables themselves, but we have Ward 1, Jake Fee. Ward 1 opponent, Christy Jurdy. Ward 3, Clayton Briggs. Ward 3 opponent, Blake Royal. Ward 5, Joe Kressel. Ward 5 opponent, Cassandra Anderson. Ward 5 opponent, Mark Palmer. At large, Bobby Baird. At large opponent, Morgan Hibma. And at large opponent, Wayne Melby. So thank you all again for attending, and we will go ahead and begin with our 2-minute opening comments. I'll continue just for clarification, and we'll go in our same pattern as we did for those of you that were here for the school board candidates. So, Jake, if you could start us off.
Good evening. My name is Jake Fee. I'm 38 years old. I've been born and raised here in Crookston. And I decided to rerun for Ward 1, not necessarily because the first term was all that great, but more so that last year, hopefully, we've turned a different path and more of a positive direction here for the city of Crookston. But we were able to still accomplish a lot here in the last 4 years, whether it was improving our relationship here with the school district and working with getting a school resource officer in here. We did some cost sharing with that, and I think that was both an improvement for the school district but also for the city as well. We also transferred over ownership of the pool from the school district to the city of Crookston as well. Really, well, gives the longevity of keeping the pool open and also let the school district focus on education. We also were able to kind of do a heavy lift and working with Jeff and getting the Fournet building kind of up and going and remodeling that. Took a TIF of 20 years, and also we had to do a kind of an interest-only loan payment for 10 years, and then you'll start paying on the 11th year going forward. So kind of doing what we can for downtown, and then a bunch of other things. We worked with Bob Herkenoff and starting to develop that property. I think all besides like 4 lots are already full, so we still got about another 60 acres of possibility there to work with Bob in expanding our housing opportunities. So. And of course, lately in the news, we're going to hopefully start working on sidewalks here, maybe as soon as 2024, something that we talked a lot the last 4 years, but it looks like that could come up to a possibility to do that. So a lot of things we were able to accomplish here in the last 4 years, and hopefully continue on that path. Thank you.
Good evening. I am Christy Jurdy, and I'm running for Ward 1's council seat. I've lived in Crookston for 14 years, first coming here for a job at the university, and second for staying to raise my family and for the lifelong friendships that I've had here. I've spent a majority of my professional career in higher education, working in student affairs for 12 years, and most recently fundraising and advertising for NASPA, a national nonprofit association. During my time here, I've been involved with United Way Executive Board, as well as other community-wide and university-led communities. I've also held positions of leadership in my professional associations, both at the regional and national levels. I'm running for City Council because I'm invested in the continued growth of the city for my children, for the community, and for my family businesses. I know Crookston has a lot of potential, and I know we can do better. I see a great need for new perspectives on this council, and as a council member, I will bring that as one of the things to the table. I will make it a priority to review the multiple reports and suggestions prepared for the city on economic and city development and champion the changes that are right for our city and for my ward. I will also make it my mission to push for more transparency on City Council. Through my research of city issues and priorities, I found it quite challenging to get a good understanding of what is the issues that are facing our city today, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I also feel that there's definitely a need for greater accessibility to this information, and we could do some work on that. It has also been my understanding that this dysfunctionality of the City Council is in due part to the lack of communication. I will make sure, as a City Council member, to hold listening sessions for my ward, as well as work with my fellow council members. I appreciate your consideration.
I'm Blake Royal. I'm running for Ward 3. I was born and raised here. My wife, I moved away to go to college, and when we got married, my wife and I chose to live in Grand Forks. As it got time for us to have children, we looked at the big city Grand Forks and decided that we both wanted to move back to our hometown in Crookston. We got back, and things aren't what we remembered. And some of the things that I want to do for everyone is we need to get back to getting some activities for the children. This community is starting to turn into a bedroom committee. And one way for us to get back is to put the children first and get young families moving back in so we can get some new businesses when these people move to town, and hopefully get young families coming to town. But when I do that, I started looking today, just before I came here, about different things that are going on in the community. And I went to the City of Crookston's Facebook page, and the last post was August 27th, and before that it was March, and there was only 16 in the last year. So I decided I'll go to the calendar and find out what's going on in the City of Crookston. It's not working. I went to the website, I went to go find the meeting minutes of what was taking place. The last meeting minutes that were posted were for January 13th of 2020. You can find the audio, but you can't find the written version. We need to work on getting better, of getting information out to people to promote our community. If we want people to come and be a part of things, we have to take those opportunities to get it out in the community. As a person that goes to Facebook for everything, most of the parents I know, we're not using it the way we properly could. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Joe Kressel, and I'm running for Ward 5 Councilman, which I have lived my entire life. I am a CHS grad and have been at UMC for 25 years as a senior buildings and grounds lead at the facilities management department. My wife Jamie is a teacher at Highland School and has taught for 20 years. We have 4 kids in the school district, and I am very involved in sports with my kids and other activities. Although I have only served on the council for 8 months after being appointed to fill a vacancy, I feel that my 7 years I spent prior to that in the Planning Commission has given me tremendous insight and experience with the inner workings of city government. I feel it is extremely important to listen to the residents of my ward, to be available to them should they have any feedback or concerns. I have not had much time to prove myself, but after sitting through meetings and getting a feel of the position, I feel strongly that it will be important to work together as a cohesive group. For the council, that means to listen to each other, make your points, and accept that things may not always go your way. I feel very strongly that we need to be transparent with all that we do and work well with other groups, committees, and boards as we work towards a greater Crookston. Thank you.
Hello. First, I'd like to say thank you to the Chamber for hosting and organizing this event and giving the community an opportunity to learn more about their candidates and local representatives. My name is Casey Anderson. I am running for Ward 5 City Council. I was born and raised in Crookston, Minnesota. I have lived here the majority of my life, minus a couple of years. I moved away to go to school. I've resided in Ward 5 since 2017 when I purchased my first home. I am a 2011 Crookston High School graduate. I have an undergraduate degree from Bemidji State University in criminal justice with a minor in psychology. For the last 3 years, I've been in graduate school earning my master's in social work, and I will officially graduate on December 18th of this year. While attending college, I have worked for Tri-County Community Corrections. I was a corrections officer for 2 years and a training corporal. I've worked for the Northwestern Mental Health Center since 2016 in various positions, including crisis services, adult mental health services, safe zone training facilitation, and school-based mental health. As of recently, I am here at the Crookston High School providing therapy to students. I'm a compassionate advocate who encourages compromise and conversation through a collaborative team approach. And I am motivated and determined to revitalize the city of Crookston and the people who live here by providing a fresh outlook to the city's decision-making team. I believe change comes from inspiring young people to pursue change by modeling teamwork, advocacy, compassion, and by displaying professional yet kind behavior, including transparency and open communication within the community. I believe we can celebrate our history while also facilitating change and future growth. We need to engage the community and grow and work as a team to grow. I'll work hard to effectively represent and protect Ward 5 as our community grows. Thank you.
Good evening. Again, thank you, Chamber and the school district and everybody for having us here to meet the candidates and talk. I'm Bobby Baird. I'm running for re-election. I grew up here all my life, grew up on a farm, moved into town probably in the 80s. My wife, Natalie, been married to her. We have 5 children. And one thing I like to do, always been a big supporter of local business, and what I believe in too, we do a lot of recreation there with the family, big snowmobile racing. We do a lot of things here in town. I want to keep it going, One of the reasons too I'm running for re-election, as Jake stated, we've had our issues here the last few years in the council, but I think this year we've really moved ahead. We've got a good bunch of council people now, and we have a new city administrator on board, and
We've got the right development. We've done a lot of good things here, you know, and a lot of belief in this community, and I want to make sure we keep that going. You look at the Riverview expansion, we got Epitome Energy on the board. We've got some daycares now in the works, and we got the Ag Innovation Center. And like I said, with the development on the north end, we've got a lot of things going here, but I want to make sure that, you know, we've got to have the daycares, we've got to have the housing, and we've got to make darn sure that we open our doors to all this, because you can bring in a lot of businesses, but we've got to make sure we have all that so these people feel welcome and staying in Crookston. So I want to keep that going. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Morgan Hibma, and first off, I'd like to thank everybody that helped put this together. You guys did a great job, and thank you for inviting me. I'm running for Crookston City Council, member at large, and I just wanted to take a few minutes to let everybody know about myself. I actually, unlike everyone else, moved here to Crookston about 5 years ago. I live with my husband and our rescue dog, Sid. And the reason I do want to run for Crookston City Council is to give back to the community that's been so very welcoming to me. I would like to help bring positive change to Crookston through fresh ideas and a sense of teamwork with the rest of our city leaders. I have a proven track record over the last 10 years of helping small businesses grow and meet their goals, and I believe that'll help me give fresh insight into helping Crookston go through, especially right now, and help our small businesses and grow. Right now, if I am elected to Crookston City Council, I plan to focus on our downtown area, create a sustainable economy, continue to help find a solution for our child care shortage, and give a sense of transparency to what's happening in our government and a voice to our citizens. I would like to give back. Helping small businesses and helping communities has really, truly become a passion of mine and something I'd love to continue to do and start to give that out in the public sector. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mark Palmer. I'm running for Ward 5. And the first thing I'd like to say is vote. That's the only way you can change things, is vote. The reason I'm running for city council, I haven't liked the way it's been run for many, many years. I've lived here all my life. I probably have the least amount of experience of anybody up here for that job. But I know at one time that Crookston was the highest taxed city in the state of Minnesota. I don't like that record. There's too many people out there on a fixed income. We got to find ways to cut taxes. That's the number one thing. You know, I can't do it myself. I'm only one person. But I can be a thorn. And that's what I want to do. I got to make change, because I've heard these people say, oh, we're here to make laws. No, you're not. You're here to run the city of Crookston. And I'm not very happy on the way it's being run. That's the number one reason. Thank you.
All righty. Good evening to everyone also from me. And thanks for everybody who's responsible for putting or hosting this event. As you know, my name is Wayne Nobby, and I'm running for council member at large. And here's why. After retiring from Crookston Fuel and Pride, I took a 2-year hiatus from city council and did a lot of traveling and a lot of visiting. I now find myself missing the involvement of the city government and feel it's a great time to return to service for the city of Crookston. I feel that I have heard the shortcomings of our council in the communications. Seems like most times what is highlighted is the disaccord of the council, Cheetah, and City Hall. The meat and potatoes of some projects are lost in the battle. To this, I suggest better PR from the city, not just relying on the media for coverage. We need to inform as well as be informed. Getting the council to work together will go a long way towards bringing the city staff and all committees on board. Honesty, respect, openness must be the building blocks for all of our committees. There's much work to be done, and working together is going to be the only way to get it done, whether it's on housing, daycare, processing plants, sidewalks, or even negotiating contracts with our workforce. I would like to have a seat at the table to help these things come to fruition by being one of the voices of reason. So if I may, I respectfully ask for your vote for me for council member at large. Thank you much.
Thank you, City Council candidates, for your opening comments. And as you are well aware, we don't have Clayton Briggs with us. He has an unexpected family matter. However, he did have a message for us that I have in front of me. I'll go through this and we'll continue on with our individual questions. I regret that I'm unable to be there tonight for the Meet the Candidates Forum. I'm proud to represent Ward 3 as your councilman and look forward to leading in this role. I've been a lifelong resident of Crookston the past 46 years. I've shared it with my wife, Mary. We have 2 grown children and 4 grandchildren. Currently a rental property investor. I have enjoyed 18 years as a board member of the Polk County Historical Society, 8 of which as the board president. As a retired police officer, I continue to serve the community in many capacities. I've served as vice mayor of Crookston and currently serving on the following boards: Lake Agassiz Regional Library, Crookston Downtown Development Partnership, Crookston Public Library, Pine Prairie Drug Task Force, Minnesota Green Step Cities, and I would appreciate your vote. Clayton Briggs, Ward 3 Councilman. So thank you for allowing me to share that on behalf of Mr. Briggs. And we'll begin a very similar format as we did in our previous round with individual questions that I'll pose to you as a group, which you have a 1-minute response time individually. So this first question, excuse me, the impact of the pandemic is significant for our local businesses. Statewide, small businesses are closing. Many of our local businesses benefited from the CARES Act dollars and other financial programs offered over the past few months. However, that is just not enough. What is your plan on ensuring our businesses stay open?
Yeah, I know the impact firsthand as the business I'm involved with was mandatory closure for over 3 months and still continues to do with reduced capacities and other restrictions due to COVID. So it's been really tough to continue to stay in operation. But the CARES Act did help out a lot. We were able to get over about $700,000 out into the community, and just so the community knows, we could have probably used some of those funds internally to fray some staffing costs and things like that. But the council put it as a priority to get that in the hands of businesses, and as soon as possible after approval, they're out within just a couple days to get them into the businesses' hands. So I think that was a big thing. But what can we do? To be honest, we're very limited on what we can do. The easiest way is to do our best to tighten our belt and keep the taxes low on our businesses. This is probably the worst time to increase the levy up any more than we have to, so they don't incur any more property taxes. In a short 1-minute answer that I can give.
Right. Definitely with COVID, it has been quite impactful on most of our businesses. And I think that what we can do, though limited outside of providing the CARES Act monies, is really doing what we're finding in our comprehensive plan, right? We're going to what they say economic garden. So we're going to go out to our businesses and we're going to find out what it is that they need, what helps them to be sustainable, what helps them to expand. And we can do what we can do as far as providing the connection with Cheetah and providing connection with our services as a city to help promote that to the greater community. And I think that, honestly, it's really having those conversations with our businesses and asking them what they need and not making the assumption. Thank you.
Yeah, again, this is a difficult question. I don't think that there's much the city council can do. The thing that I would be willing to do is that the council get together with the state and the county representatives looking for some more money. Another thing I think we need to, and Cheetah, some of the other groups, the chamber, go out and find out how to promote. Another thing that I don't think we do good enough is we need to promote Shop Crookston first. COVID's one thing. The internet is probably more of a problem for the local businesses. And I know my family, when COVID hit, we made a concerted effort to go out and shop at a business that was open or eat from a local restaurant because we were in a position where both of us were still working. And I think we need to promote that we need to we always talk about getting services, but then we need to make sure that as a community we use the services that we have available to us. And it goes back to using the social media and different things that we have available to us to promote our businesses.
Yes, like Blake said, this pandemic and stuff going on, I think number one thing for the whole city of Crookston to know is to shop and support Crookston as a whole. If it's a restaurant, if it's going out and buying some clothes or whatever it is, you have to know that every dime counts at this point in time with the pandemic. I also think that economic development with the Ag Innovation Center breaking ground next week, that could possibly bring 50 to 60 jobs to Crookston. I think that when you bring good paying jobs, people will move here, there will be more traffic, more people spending money. I think that's a very important thing to look at. And so I think we have a lot of good things going on, but just remember to support Crookston first.
Supporting and shopping in Crookston is the most important part to this, but also having a council that is ready and able to make decisions rapidly when more funding is available, if more funding becomes available. In the meantime, I agree that the promotion and ability to promote things hasn't been as effective as it could be. The chamber has improved on this tremendously in the last couple of years, and I think the city could embrace some of that energy and utilize that to engage more people in shopping in Crookston and participating in community events. As a council member, I would encourage that and give an example of that, and hopefully work to find a way to better promote Crookston and get more people engaged.
What I think here too is what we need to do is, everyone touched on it, support the local business, no matter what it is, because that goes a long ways. When you support local business, they support us. Another thing we need to do is stay in contact with our state legislatures and senators and see what they can do to help our local businesses, and they need to tell us what's going on, and that's going to be a big plus. We need to bring the events into town, because we want the hotels, we want all the gas stations, we want the restaurants, everybody work together. The more events we can bring into town, the more the money is spent, and we just want to keep that going, whether it's Ox Cart Days or anything. So that's what I want to do.
Well, I'll agree with everyone here. I mean, we have to shop local and keep supporting that way, but I could probably go on all night about this. I'm in marketing, and I have literally spent the last 8 to 9 months answering this question every single day. How do I keep people coming in? And what I found is we have to get creative. The market has changed. People are looking to do business differently, and we need to provide those resources and consulting options to our local businesses. Sometimes it's a group effort to sit down and say, what can we do differently to continue to offer our services, but maybe in a different way than we've never done before. Whether I'm elected or not, I would like to be able and be a resource to our local businesses to sit down and help come up, see a budget. What can we do socially? What can we do grassroots ways to find a way to get businesses back in? And I think it's a huge passion of mine, and probably one of the biggest reasons that I decided that I could be the biggest asset this year to all of our local businesses in our community.
That's a tough question. I think what would really help is if we could figure out ways to get more events going on in Crookston. Like Oxford, I mean, the thing is with the Oxford Days is they're all volunteers. They work hard at that. I mean, it's a lot of work. Another way is I'd like to see ways that we could help the residents that are hurting too. I mean, there's people out there having a tough time getting their rent and their utilities paid. And I think as a city, that's something we should look into. Thank you.
Like I say, all of those are very good points, and if you had a miraculous bucket of money that never emptied, you certainly could do an awful lot. But I think what we have to do to be realistic is we have to be mindful of the programs that are coming out of the state and everything. You know, Mark Johnson and Deputy Representative, they don't have time to come up here and spoon feed us. We need to kind of go out there and watch what's going on. But at the same time, maybe we can get some information to the folks through the Small Business Development Center, that type of thing, where they could help them fill out some of these forms that seem so tedious to get the extra cash that's available. And so, you know, then by deferring some of the capital investments, you can do that and slow down taxes for a year, but it's going to catch up to you. So I wouldn't be messing with that too much, and just be mindful that we still are running the city and just helping to find the extra resources for everybody. And P.S. Shop Crookston.
Thank you all. Question 2. The phrase lack of transparency is used frequently in our community. What steps will you take to address this matter?
There probably has been a lack of transparency or communication, whatever words you kind of want to use. There has been a lack of it. You know, as a council member, you know, sometimes you think you have a little more ability to make those things happen a little bit easier than what it is. But I think we do have a new city administrator coming along. I guess one of the goals that I would pose would be to make sure that we are communicating with our community better, whether it's what we're working on or whatever. Some people, we have out-of-date minutes on our website. That's unacceptable. Things like that, cleaning that up. But also, how do we really reach our community in a better way? I'm not going to sit here and say I have all the answers on that, but we have to do better to make sure that people know what we're working on, how is it working, and what we do that. So really put it as a goal as our staff to get out there and make sure that we're doing everything that we can to be communicating with our community better.
I would say just having done the research to really understand what the city is about has been quite complicated, and there is a lot to be done, a lot of barriers to have come up against that we shouldn't be having as a city. I think that what has been mentioned here already, as far as our minutes not being posted since January, not utilizing our social media like we could, as well as, and I will say, I've asked this question, like, where's the best place that I can find a particular information about a topic, and it was suggested to me that the local newspaper, and as great as that is and as informative as it is, that shouldn't be the end-all be-all where we should be getting our information about city council. So I think it's important for us to go forward and really making sure that we are providing a better understanding via social media, via our website, and making sure that our minutes are being posted in a timely manner.
Lack of transparency. I just want to say I don't think that any current or past council members have been non-transparent. Maybe just the information's been hard to find or come about. One of the things I think I've touched on is the internet. But I talk about young families. Not everybody is in my situation. There's older people that rely on newspaper or the radio. We need to be hitting all sorts of things, from the different things, the website, the media, and just using the media as much as possible to get things out there in the open. I can tell by going to a meeting before, what you see happen at the city council meeting, number of times isn't actively reflected in the paper. It comes off different, makes the council look worse than maybe what it really is. So the big thing is to just keep pushing to get out there in many different avenues to get the information out, because people find information in different areas.
Yes, I think in my time on the council so far, lack of transparency has gotten better. I think we are working as a group better. I think of some of the information, like Blake just said, how it gets out and what is said is maybe not exactly what went on, but I think now with the new city administrator starting, I think that's going to help transparency quite a bit. I know we've talked about purchasing equipment to video the meetings so that more people can be involved and see exactly what is said and what is going on and be more involved. So I think that's very important, and I think us as council need to be more of a voice in the community.
I've heard concerns about lack of transparency for several years. Yeah, I'm not sure if it is a council issue or it's how it's portrayed issue. I think it's important moving forward to utilize the technology that is gaining popularity, whether we like Facebook or not. It's always going to be there, probably. And I think it's important that the city take advantage of that. There's live streaming options. The council could live stream meetings potentially. I think it's just important that the community know what's going on in the decision-making team within the city, and the only way to do that is to have access to the information and to be able to easily access that information. Thank you.
Yeah, on a lack of transparency, I think as a council, we're doing better with it, and everyone brought up good points. The big thing is here with Amy on board now, I think there's going to be good communication with everybody as far as Cheetah and all the department heads, and there's things we can't discuss, and there's a lot of things we can, and that's one thing we got to let people know too, but then the people got to communicate with us too, on their needs. There's nothing worse than hearing something on the street that this should have been done, that should be done, they got to let us know, but together we got to work as a team, all the council members, the boards, everybody in town, to get the communication out, and that'll end a lot of it. Thank you.
I often say communication's not what you put out, but what people take in. And I think everyone communicates differently. They take in information differently. And as a city council, if our town is saying that it's not transparent and they can't learn, then the city council has to take responsibility. I love the idea of the live streaming. I think however we move forward or however it goes, that should be out there and that it should be recorded for people to go back and access later. But also using social media. Maybe offer newsletters. Our website definitely needs updated. I think also us as members being out there and available to answer questions. We work for the people, and that we need to remember that, because if they're out there looking for that information, because we're doing this for them. So being open to that option of communicating how they would like to.
Well, number one, I'm not a very good public speaker, but if you want transparency, I'll guarantee you'll get it from me. If you like the way the city's being run right now, fine, go out and vote against me. That's all I got to do. I wouldn't be running if I was happy. Thank you.
Okay. As far as a lack of transparency, I don't know if the community is saying it so much as between the council and the community, or between the council, the Cheetah, the chamber. A lot of things have been left out in the cold. It hasn't been run as a well-oiled machine. We are short of staff, so it is hard to get a lot of this stuff out to the public. There are the audio tapes, so that it is out there. If you dig it up and want to get it, that's fine. But the web page, like you say, hasn't been updated. They're changing some systems down there. We don't have a city administrator, so Angel's been, stretched to the limit. And I think so that's going to help us in the long run if we can start getting our committees together and being open so that we can talk around the table. And like you say, you don't hear it on the streets before it comes to the council.
Thank you all for that. Next question, question 3. How will you keep your ward constituents informed throughout your role as a city council member or during your campaign to run as a city council member?
Well, I think that's kind of a two-phase type of deal. I think that a lot of talk about social media, there's probably a better way to reach them, whether it's creating a Ward 1 Facebook page or whatever, to keep them up on the matters. I try to stay clear of talking just on my behalf, or more so talk on behalf of the council. I don't like to do that. But there's probably a better way to reach my residents that way. But also, it's a two-way street. You know, we do have emails, we have cell phones or whatever, and I think I've always returned and try to, you know, work with them on whatever issues they have or what's they're passionate about or whatever. So probably a little bit of, try a little harder to do something on social media, but also just stay accessible for when they do have questions or concerns, whether it's through the campaign or when you're sitting as a city council member.
I think for me, in order to keep my constituents up to date, I think there's a couple opportunities. I think one is to educate them about the opportunity to be on the mailing list for the minutes of our city council. I think also what Crookston really is about relationships. And I think in having said that, we should be having listening sessions, coffee with Christy, 2 times a year, or if there's maybe something that's really important coming up, and I want my constituents to know that I'm here to listen. So I'll provide that opportunity for them. As I've been campaigning, I've also been asking those questions and providing surveys asking what is it you're looking for in a city council member and what's important to you. And I think those are simple and easy things that we can do that don't cost money and get us a really good idea of what's going on in our ward. Thank you.
I think keeping everybody informed on the constituents, and then I don't think that each individual council member has benefited going out and talking, because as Jake kind of spoke, you're talking about a council. But with a new city administrator, I'd envision that person would be accountable to the media and to get things out, to get one message instead of multiple messages. And if we have a person who's out in front of the face of the community and available to take questions, all council members have cell phone and email, as Jake spoke, but we need to get on point, because I think that's where things get lost when between CHETA, CBIC, or the CBC, all the things get lost when they're giving out different messages. If we had one person for a project to be held accountable, we'd get out the pertinent information and we'd be able to answer the questions at hand.
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to, let my Ward 5, everybody in Ward 5 know that my door is always open. As Jake said, we do have email. Our phone numbers are out there. I'm pretty easy to talk to, so I don't think I'm too big of a scary guy that the people can't call, and if they ever have problems, I will always listen. We can sit down with coffee. We can do whatever it takes that way. I do have a Ward 5 Facebook page as of right now. Hopefully, I'm not a real big guru yet on Facebook. I am still learning that aspect. So, there is other ways, but like I said, most importantly, that my door is always open.
I think I can echo that too, with the door being always open. I'm right on the corner next to MnDOT, so you can find me and come talk to me if there's any concern or issue. I also email, phone. Facebook is probably the best way to get a hold of younger people in the ward, maybe not everyone. So I think it's important to look at various ways of communicating and what people need, what people want. I'd be open to having a pizza and sharing pizza with somebody and going to Happy Joe's and talking about issues or concerns or any of that. So I think that's how I would try to keep my constituents informed.
As councilman at large, it's my job to work with every ward councilman, and if there are issues, because we represent the whole city and all the people. So if there are issues, need to work with them, address the issue, and then there have been some issues this summer where some of it we brought public, and there's some that we did on the side, fixing issues, because not all of it has to be brought up. But the biggest thing for us is listening to people and let us know what's going on, and working with, like I said, the other councilmen on there. Take care of the issue and address it.
Again, I don't think there's one way to answer that question. Everyone's going to gather their information differently. So whether it's working with the local news outlets to get across where I'm thinking or what the city council is wanting to do and how I'm supporting that. I did start a Facebook page. And I've been putting out what I believe in and what I stand for on there, and I've had a lot of great reception there. I've had a lot of people message me, and I've communicated back and forth through people that way. So I plan to keep that live if I'm elected. I'd also like to put together a newsletter, whether it's coming from the city, and each council member is adding their information of where they stand. So I think we need to put that out there and asking our citizens how would they like to listen to us? How would they like to get their information from us? And then we listen to them and provide it that way.
Again, that's a tough question. A lot of people just don't have the time to look into this, but they want us to do their job for them. And that's kind of hard unless you get feedback from the people. I'm probably one of the few people in town still has a landline. But I would like to say a shout out to KROX. Their website is one of the best out there. And for information on Crookston, that's usually where I go. I'm not a big Facebook person, but if elected, I'd have to be. Thank you.
I think over the years that I've been with council that the best thing to be is be out there, as they say. You go to the football games, you go to the grocery stores, you go shopping, you're walking downtown, enjoying the sights, going to the events, and people will stop you and either let you know how well you're doing or how bad you're doing or what they'd like to see. And that's really a spot to do it is when it's, the irons are hot. The town hall, the meetings and stuff like that, if you got a real heavy topic, that people will show up. But typically for that, people are no-shows. And so that's kind of bad on them. But they do like to talk to you one-on-one. And if you got it, I got a landline too. And the thing is I got an answer machine on there that always takes a message, and I always call back, and I've been commented on that an awful lot, that that's what they want to do, is they want to hear you personally.
All right. Question number 4. This is a question posed from Crookston resident Kay Higgy. How do you feel about moving the downtown square and adding retail and an amphitheater as part of the mixed-use complex? And why is it part of a deal instead of cash? Second part of the question, how do you feel about developing the old cathedral as a community center? Two-part.
This is tough to answer in a minute here, but there is a contractor out there that's willing to maybe do an investment of $7 million in the community, so nothing really should be off the table when it comes to that scenario. Now, whether it's investing 7 figures into moving the downtown square and adding the retail that might have to be subsidized, those are all issues that the council is currently looking into. We had a listening session from the community, heard a lot of feedback on a couple of those issues. What will that look like? We're still working on it, so I'm not eliminating anything off the table when you're talking about a $7 million investment into our downtown. We all are talking about making that investment, so I don't want to take it off the table yet, but there are issues about moving the downtown square and the retail space. As far as the cathedral as a community center, if there's a feasible plan to be presented, I would take a look at it, but we're talking about also in the 7 figures to do that, and also what it costs to run on a continuous basis after that. So there's a lot of tough things to sit there and try to answer in a minute, but that's, I guess, my time's up.
As you can tell, there's a lot of ambiguity around this particular topic. What I do know is that we definitely need things that will promote economic growth in our community, but at what cost?
Town square is being on that piece of property up there what we don't own, and if it ever is sold to somebody else, are we hostage on a price for it? We do own land all the way along the river from Legion, from the bridge to Legion, all the way down to the gentleman that has the house that works for the ambulance on the south end there. I think that would be a good spot for it and get it off of there. I mean, if we're going to buy land, we can move that thing for less than what I feel that land will cost. As far as a mixed-use complex, this is a higher-end facility that they want to build here, and I am not going to be for putting a retail business in there. I'll be darned if I'm going to take a business from downtown and put it in there. As far as mixed use, you know, if we can have like a skating rink or amphitheater,
to $200,000 building. We had a 10-year lease on that the council decided that, you know, 10 years or $10,000 for a year per year with another 10-year option after that is a pretty reasonable amount to rent that space, if you want to say that. If we owned it, we built it, but in case if we didn't buy the whole place, it's still out there. You have your, you know, a lot of family stuff going on down there in the farmers market and that type of thing, and it's a great spot. It's away from the highway a little bit, but yet visible enough to create some excitement. So also, many of you don't know, but not that long ago, we had some things in place to buy that whole piece of property. The money was allotted, it was there, and I don't know, that was right after I got out as mayor, and it fell through. And I don't know who's responsible for that, but thank you.
All right. Final question for the city council candidates for this evening. What is your view on line 3?
I believe all the environmental impact studies and about every branch of the Minnesota government has taken a look at it, and I believe it's just a political thing now. But I believe new pipelines are the safest way to transport oil. So yeah, I'm in favor of line 3 and the economic impact that it have. And you know, I still believe keeping old lines running and not replacing them with new lines is irresponsible. So yeah, I'm a supporter of line 3.
I would say that I'm going to reserve my opinion on this. The information that I have read about it is that there is a large concern for the economic impact. What I will say, though, is that the study that was done that would supposedly bring in, I think, 10,000 jobs for it was done through the University of Minnesota Duluth, and it was done in conjunction with somebody who was involved in the pipeline. And so I feel that there is a need to research this further before making a decision, but ultimately if it was something that would be safe for our community and our groundwater, as well as provide jobs, I am for it if that's the case. But I reserve my opinion for that.
I think this is a tough question. The council really doesn't have much say on this one way or the other. I guess I'd be for it if we can get some good jobs. It's not really going to run anywhere near Crookston, maybe up in the upper edges of Polk County, but if we can be able to market ourselves, to get the construction workers, to use our hotels, to use our restaurants, to use the services in our community while they're here working, that's great. But again, the council doesn't have much say one way or the other of what's going to happen on this.
Yeah, I agree. This is a tough one. This really isn't a city issue, but if you listen to TV or whatever, I think it's the most safe way to transport their product, and I do think the economic impact on it, we could branch off of that, and like Blake just said, maybe get some of the construction, promote the park that will be getting more camping sites, all that kind of thing. Get people into town, moving around, especially downtown where they can walk to a lot of different stuff. So I do support line 3. I think it's been gone over enough and passed every hurdle that it needed to several times. So I do support that.
I think I need more information to come to a final decision or view on line 3. However, I know that the oil field is not one that has a long-term growth potential anywhere, and moving towards more environmentally friendly and sustainable energy would be a more sustainable investment. I also know that there comes risk of spill with lines, but I do not know conclusively that there is that risk with this. I don't know enough information, so I would have to do some research and determine my view, but as it has been said, I don't think this is an issue that City Council can say much about anyways.
I am in support of line 3, and here's the reasons why. For one thing, if we get a lot of truck traffic and train traffic, that railroad ties up, them oil cars ties up all the grain that has to be moved by the farmers in this area, and it was a big issue before. You look at our highways around here, Highway 2 going east and west, they're beat to nothing. Are we going to get money to fix them? We haven't got money for the last 20 years to fix them. Another thing, it's going to bring a lot of workers in town. That's going to support the community, whether it's restaurants, gas, groceries, rent. So no, I think it's a good thing, and I hope it goes through. Thank you.
I'll keep it short and sweet. I do support it for all of the economic reasons that everyone else has put up here, and so.
No. I have not seen a pipeline yet that doesn't leak. And in the short term, Crookston could benefit a little bit from it, but more than likely most people will go to Grand Forks or someplace else. So no, I can't justify it. When the pipeline goes down south, that oil automatically doubles going into Texas, and it's being exported. It's not going to help our country at all. Thank you.
Well, having been with CHS for a number of years, I think you're wrong, Mr. Palmer. It doesn't all go to Texas. It goes to different spots. There's Kansas, there's Duluth, there's other spots, and some does get exported, but a lot stays. And as far as the above ground transportation, you've seen the wrecks with the trains. You've seen the failures on the cars. There's been leakage. So right now, though, they've got so many sensors and things and different safety catches or safety issues with the pipeline that they're seeing or covering with all of their new technologies. So, I mean, I think I feel pretty safe there, and I do support it.
Again, thank you all. Those are the conclusion of the formalized questions, and what we'd like to do is open up for one remaining minute for closing comments by each of you, and that will conclude our City Council candidates for this evening. So, Jake?
Sure. Just thanks, Lance, and thanks to the Chamber for putting this together. It's a good opportunity for the community to get to know everybody up here this evening. As we see opponents on here, and that's the term we got to use, but at the same time, I think everybody up here just has a passion for Crookston and just that passion to want to serve our residents and just make Crookston a better place. So I do wish everybody luck. Win or lose, this is really, to be quite honest, a thankless job. So just say, wish everybody best of luck. Most importantly, get out and vote, and I would appreciate your vote on Election Day.
I want to thank everyone again and the Visitor Center for also supporting this. It's very enlightening to see what we have up here for candidates. I believe as a council member, my goal would be to champion economic growth, the transparency needed for City Council, the teamwork that's needed, and the communication. And it would be my great privilege to serve the city and the ward. I appreciate your time and consideration of my candidacy and look forward to the opportunity of serving the city.
Yeah, I noticed I forgot to answer the question on the cathedral. I would say I'm not in support of that. We have a community event, and that's called the hockey arena out here, and we struggle to budget for that all the time. I think we need to sell community. The whole thing of why I'm on is we need to sell Crookston better communication. We've got some stuff in here. We've got a world-class hospital that was just built and cutting-edge technology. We've got a lot of industry potential with epidemic coming. We've got the beet plant. We've got a lot of good things. We just need to get our messaging out there and get people to use the services we have available to us. Try to get people to stop going on the internet. It's so easy when you're at home. And shop Crookston. stop going to Grand Forks, because if we don't, this community won't have anything, and we won't have any option but to go to Grand Forks or to the internet. Thank you. Ask for your vote.
I just want to thank the Chamber for hosting this event. Like Jake said, it's a good way to get to know all the candidates and to hear some of their views. Just get out and vote. Everybody get out and vote. That's the way you get your inside out and what you want to say. It's one of the best ways to do that. And I just want to let all the people of Ward 5 know that I will, if elected, I will do my best to move Crookston forward, and hopefully we can find ways to make it grow and be a better place to live and get more people in and businesses. So thank you.
Thank you again to the Chamber and the Crookston High School for allowing us to use this building. I'm proud and excited to be a candidate for Ward 5 City Council. I'm truly grateful for this opportunity. I see tremendous potential in this community with our amazing Oxcart Days Festival, the oldest running theater in the country, a university, and several unique and delicious small businesses in town. The recent announcement of Heroes Rise Coffee Company coming to Crookston shows that other folks see potential in this community too. We must embrace that and work together as a team to create a revitalized atmosphere in this community. The Oxcart Days Committee has set a great example of what energy, positivity, and teamwork can do in Crookston, and I want to see that energy brought to the City Council to hopefully see similar improvements and growth opportunities. I can promise that if I earn your vote on November 3rd, I will always be open and available for conversations with folks residing in Ward 5 and any community members who may have ideas, thoughts, or concerns. Thank you again for this opportunity, and thank you to anyone listening at home.
I also would like to thank KROX, the Chamber, and the school board for having us here. I also like to just say that, all of us are passionate about Crookston, whether it's businesses, survival, economic development, but I believe that that's one thing. We're going to have our ups and downs on this. But if we're all in it together, whether we win or lose, we need to keep the communication up, talk to each other, keep this town going. And I want to thank all the support I've had over the last 4 years, and I hope it continues. And you got to get out and vote, whether good or bad, make a change. That's what you're here for. So thank you.
I would like to thank everyone that took time out of their evening to show interest in their community and listen to all of us sit up here and talk. I believe we can't continue to do the same thing over and over again and expect change. We need somebody and council members that are willing to look at things differently, bring fresh ideas, work as a team, not only within the council, but the rest of our members in our community and our leaders. And I believe I am that person, and I would be so greatly honored if I was elected to help lead this community. Thank you all for your time this evening.
Well, the basic question is, do you like the way it's going right now? Vote the incumbent. If you don't, vote in the new guy. That's all I can say. It's up to you to vote. This is the only time you can be heard. Thank you.
Okay, I guess I too would like to thank everybody that's responsible for hosting the event once again, and I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up thanks to the Crookston Times for their great coverage. They had some stuff in the paper the last few weeks here that, with pictures and showing people that you can read it and piece it together with your candidates and who's out there. That's wonderful. Nothing to say with KROX, they do a great job too, and with their websites and with the news, and I think they all do good. I too would like to, everybody up at the tables up here put themselves out there, and it's not easy. You still been here how many times, and I still kind of sweat before you get here, right, Jake? So I mean, it is good that we've got people that are willing to step up and do it. I appreciate that. Please get out and vote, and thank you very much.
All right, again, City Council candidates, I appreciate your final closing comments, and allow us 5 minutes once again to turn over tables, and we'll move forward after that. I'll do an announcement for an invite on our county commissioners to the stage at that point.
You are listening to the Meet the Candidates Forum on KROX as we get ready for the Polk County Commissioners. They're going to be coming up next here on the Meet the Candidates Forum put on by the Crookston Chamber of Commerce. Again, we have the audio available at
If you're currently
KROXAM.com.
present, we could go ahead with the...
And we also have the live stream going on at YouTube, and so you can check it out there or at KROXAM.com. Well, coming up here for the Polk County Commissioners, we're going to have 1st District. Jerry Jacobson, the incumbent, is going to be running against, or he's going to be challenged by Travis Johnson. District 3, Gary Wilhite, the incumbent, running unopposed. And in District 5, we're going to have a newcomer. One way or the other, as Don Diedrich has announced he will not be running again. Mark Hawley and Tim Finseth are running for that opening. So the Polk County Commissioners for District 1, 3, and 5, they're going to be coming up next year. And asking the questions will be Riverview House Lance Norman.
All right. We'll move with our county commissioner candidates. Each of you, of course, as we've had a similar theme this evening, have a 2 minutes for opening comments. Well, 1 minute then for response to the questions that we pose, and then closing comments after that. So let's begin with our 2 minute opening comments. Mr. Jacobson.
Yeah, hey folks. First I'd like to thank the Crookston Chamber of Commerce for putting us on and inviting us to the Meet the Candidate Forum and to KROX Radio. And they're live streaming this, I believe. My name is Jerry Jacobson. I'm running for re-election for Polk County Commissioner in District 1. I was born and raised on a small farm near Maple Lake, Minnesota. And except for 5 years that I lived in Seattle and 4 years in Minneapolis, I've been a resident of Polk County all my life. My wife Lynn and I have 4 children and 3 grandchildren. I graduated from Fertile High School and attended Bemidji State College. I started my business career working in Seattle in the office equipment business. And after Lynn and I were married, we moved back to Minnesota. That's our home. And I began selling printing equipment to printers, newspapers, and shoppers. And that experience and that exposure to the publishing business led me to start the Valley Shopper here in Crookston. And I later developed a shopper in, you want me to put that up?
You're good.
Oh, okay, okay. And that exposure led me to start the Valley Shopper, and then later a shopper in Grand Forks and a shopper and printing company in Peace River Falls. I've served as a county commissioner now for a total of 12 years. I currently serve on vice chair of the county board and chair of the social services board. I also serve on 11 other public service organizational boards and some local Monty County boards. Becoming a commissioner has a fairly large learning curve, and I feel about 12 years in the budgeting, tax levies, long-range planning will carry me effectively through the next 4. You know, this forum is kind of like a job interview, except I have 6,000. Oops. Time's up.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Travis Johnson. I'm a 20-year Army veteran, retired in 2018 with a background in finance and accounting. First duty station in the Army, I met my wife, former Miss Terry Weber, who is from here in Crookston. We've been married this year for 27 years. For me, it seems like it was only yesterday. For her, she'd probably say it was double that amount of time. We have 3 children. My son Christopher is a student at the University of North Dakota. My daughter Alexis graduated from the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. And this past year, we adopted our 17-year-old daughter Jamie. She's truly been a gift to us. What made me decide to come up here and run for office? Last year, I put in a building permit to put in a cattle shelter on this livestock farm that we founded when I got here in 2018. Upon doing so, we found out it was 180 feet setback right away from the center of the highway. This is a gravel county road. They needed 180 feet on both sides of the highway. That's almost a quarter of a mile on a gravel county road that they tell you you can't build a building. Well, I figured maybe there's a reason for it. So I went and asked to speak to the council. I went in there and asked the council, can you guys give me a reason why I cannot build on my property? Give me a legitimate reason and I'll leave. Finally, they gave me an answer, well, maybe someday we're going to want to expand that highway. It was just the wrong answer to me. I just didn't feel like I was heard. At that point, that's when I decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to come in here and I'm going to try to change things. I'm going to make a difference. I miss serving from when I was in the Army, and this was my opportunity. Thank you all very much.
Well, I'm Gary Wilhite, and my wife and I moved to Crookston here in 1978. We've raised one daughter and 3 sons. We found Crookston to have great schools, great people, and great places to work. I had the opportunity to work as an administrator at the University of Minnesota Crookston campus here for the last 42 plus years, and looking at retiring this December. I've been involved in the community. Certainly most beneficial perhaps was 8 years in city government, serving on city council as well as serving as mayor. But I would like to thank the citizens for the opportunity to serve as your District 3 Commissioner in Polk County over the past 4 years. It's been a privilege and honor to serve as board chair and serve on many committees. I think that's one thing that maybe not everyone knows. We not only go to council meetings, but we serve on maybe 10 to 12 committees. I serve on finance, personnel, public health, social services, Tri-Valley Opportunity Council, the Lake Agassiz Regional Library, public safety, emergency management, planning and zoning, county parks, and several others. District 3 includes the townships of Crookston, Parnell, and Gently, and wards 2, 3, 4, and 6 of the city of Crookston. It's a little confusing because wards 1 and 5 are represented by District 1. Some of you listening have already voted in this year's election, and others are planning are going to the polls on Tuesday, November 3rd. And I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mark Holy from East Grand Forks. I'm running for District 5 County Commissioner. I'm East Grand Forks resident all of our lives. I married my wife, Charlene, in 1985. We've been married for 35 years. We lived in East Grand Forks for a number of years, and then we moved out to our family farm in 2016, and that's where we're living currently today. We have 3 adult boys, Austin, Grant, and Ryan. They're all outside of the area. Hopefully one day they will come back. I have an uncanny ability to listen to people. I hear what people are really saying. I found that very useful on my 8 years of city council in East Grand Forks. It was primarily 1998 through 2005, and learned lots of very interesting things during the flood recovery. And a lot of emotions from people, and a lot of rebuilding of the community, so forth and so on, that went on at that time. And it was very interesting, but it was very interesting interacting with the people and really listening to what people were trying to say. And I have that ability. And it goes back to something my grandpa told me when he was on his deathbed, having my last visit with my grandpa. And it stuck with me all my life. He's never learned anything from somebody who always agreed with him. And that's kind of the way I live my life. I'll listen. As long as the conversation doesn't get nasty, I'll sit and debate, and we'll talk and come to a consensus when it's all done. Thank you.
Good evening. Is this on? My name is Tim Finseth, and I'm from Angus. I'm running for County Commissioner, District 5. I was born and raised in Polk County my whole life. I've still owned part of the original family farm. Graduated of McIntosh Winger High School. Short time that I wasn't in Polk County, I went to college at MSU. First I went to Northland College, then MSU. And after that, right after that, I married my wife, Ruth, of 33 years now. We have 2 children. One is my oldest son is a college graduate and in the workforce. My youngest daughter is 17 and a senior in high school this year. Over the years, I've had the pleasure of working 19 years as a manager of the Soil and Water Conservation District, which was a very good experience to be all working on the land with the landowners day in, day out, and it gave you a good appreciation for what other landowners are going through outside of just your own personal situation owning land. I also have, for the last 14 years, had the pleasure of owning a hardware store. When you work with a hardware store, one of the biggest things you get to do day in, day out is help people solve problems. And people bring in a a problem of electrical or plumbing or whatever it may be, and you get to help figure out a way to solve that problem for them, and that's just a fun thing to do. I also had the pleasure of 10 years of serving in the Minnesota House of Representatives for District 1B, which included basically the whole part of District 5 Commissioner District. I had the pleasure of working with a lot of different people and proving that we could work with people with other points of view and other political parties and getting along and working towards solutions, not always fighting day in, day out like they seem to be doing today. And that was a good part of my part in the legislature, was listening and trying to help people out. Thank you.
Thank you all for your opening comments. We'll go ahead with questions posed to you as a group. You can answer individually. You have a 1-minute response time. This first question, the impact of the pandemic is significant for our local businesses. Statewide, small businesses are closing. Many of our local businesses benefited from the CARES Act dollars and other financial programs offered over the past few months. However, this is just not enough. What is your plan on ensuring our businesses stay open?
Well, let's be honest. A lot of businesses have closed already, and some more will close. But you know, we're sitting in a good spot here, geographically and everything else. I sit on the Minnesota Rural Counties Board, and we've had fellows talk to us quite often. Do you know that 80% of the population lives in an urban environment, 20% lives in a rural environment? Rural environment also includes like towns like Crookston. The only one we have that's an urban city is East Grand Forks. However, 80% of the people living in an urban wish they lived in a 20% rural setting. So the answer, I think, we have wonderful internet service. I think time's already up. Sorry.
Good evening. One of the problems that I've seen from attending a couple of the town halls is we were able to access this CARES money here with Polk County. Crookston did a great job with it, but our smaller towns like Fertile, they don't have the manpower or the knowledge base to be able to access this money. We are only as strong as our small towns are in Polk County. We need to be able to reach out, help these smaller towns access this money and become successful. A lot of businesses have gone down and went out, but we've also noticed there's some shortfalls. When these packing plants started shutting down, guess what? The small custom butchers, they had so much work they couldn't handle it. It was 8 to 9 months to get an animal in for processing. This is a shortfall that we can maybe try to encourage our businesses to reopen and fill some of these shortcomings and help our long-term food supply in this country. Thank you.
Well, in April, I asked the commissioners to take a look at ways that we could assist these businesses. We had gotten a couple of applications regarding the inability to pay their taxes in the spring. We took a look at some tax benefits, what types of breaks. Actually, it's an application that businesses can fill out. But under these COVID conditions, that didn't qualify unless your place burned down. Would we adjust some fees? Well, the blessing probably came with the CARE Act, and that was a great start. The cities and counties and townships were working together. The county received a big share of that. Our objection was to get that money to businesses immediately, to get money out to food banks, to nursing homes, and several other organizations. I think it's certainly uncertain when we will see things return to normal, but then it will be us to support them. Thanks.
There's no doubt this pandemic has had a dramatic effect on large business and even small business, but I think it even affects the smaller businesses even harder. In listening to the city council people earlier, and I'm sitting out there and thinking about small business because I have had a couple small businesses in my life. For the shutdown period, for basically the 3 months that they were shut down, that's 25% of their total income for the year that is gone. And there isn't a business that I'm aware of that can absorb that kind of loss of income, especially in a mom and pop small employment type situation. And I think some tax abatement could be an application process, which would be good. The CARES Act was also good. But I think legislatively, possibly, we need to make that argument to our state capital to help outreach into the rural areas, especially in northwestern Minnesota. Thank you.
As a current business owner, I can tell you firsthand that COVID-19 certainly does have an impact on small business, and it hurts. And it's something that will not be recovered from anytime very soon. The CARES Act is a good step, and it's a good way to try help, but it's not the answer. If you think back to small businesses over the last few years, it's not just this COVID year that's doing it. We've had several years leading up to this of pain and agony for small businesses because of overtaxation, overregulation, and just an unfriendly business environment. And we need to work hard to make sure that we get that message down to St. Paul and to Washington, D.C., to make sure that they will do the right things to ease up on some of the pain and regulation that they're causing small businesses. So the COVID is not just the only blame here. This is way far reaching than just COVID. In the meantime, yeah, we got to do everything we can to help small business immediately to get through this and get over the hump. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. What are your top 3 priorities for Polk County?
Well, I'd say number 1, we need to maintain our tax base. Probably number 2, in our courthouse and in our whole county. We have a number of retirements coming up, so we need to have an effective retirement transition, and we're working on that. And thirdly, we have to return to our norm, and with mental health and everything like that, I think we will get back to a solid basis here, and I think there's a great future for us. People want to live here. We're a great community, great county. Thank you very much.
All right, my first one, as mentioned earlier, would probably be overhauling the zoning regulations. If we're going to put restrictions on people, let's make sure they're necessary. Let's make sure they're needed, okay? It can't be a one-size-fits-all. Polk County has, the zoning office over there is great. Yake's a great guy. He knows his job well. He is a huge asset. But the problem is there's just so many regulations that make things difficult. Polk County has a reputation about zoning. Second priority would probably be looking at the road funds. They're going to take a hit this year. People aren't traveling. We're not getting as much money from the state. Roads are budgeted 5 years in advance. There's not a lot of places to get this money. So that's going to be a shortfall that's going to need to be addressed. Because let's face it, as for residents, roads are important. That's one of the main complaints people are probably going to have if you have crappy roads. The last one would probably be just, again, whoops, I'm out of time, sorry.
All right.
Well, my priorities are number 1, collaboration. Collaboration between cities, townships, schools, state and federal government agencies is so important. I take time to attend school board meetings, city councils, and township meetings and local boards to keep informed of what concerns are important to citizens. Number 2, setting expectations and providing direction. I think that is the primary job of a commissioner, and that involves fiscal responsibility as well as team building. Number 3, communication, and that's a two-way. Us getting communication out to you, KRX, gives me an opportunity to go on the air about every 2 months to talk a little bit about what's going on in the county, as well as the newsletter that you all receive that District 2 Commissioner Warren Strandell puts together for us. Thank you.
My priorities, if I'm elected, one, public safety, and that's the Sheriff's Department. They do a wonderful job, and I had an experience with them this past summer. They were professional and above grade, and this was going on during all the protesting and stuff that was going on down in Minneapolis, and I was very impressed. The second thing is preservation of our county highways and ditches. Water management is also another one. And thirdly, I'd like to see somehow how the county could start some type of economic development to bring businesses into this region, because I think we have a very educated and a very good workforce here that is underemployed at this time, and I think that would be good.
A big duty of county commissioners is to make sure that we have good roads and bridges. Transportation in a rural part of the state is a very important thing. If we're going to survive, we have to be able to get goods and services from place to place, and we have to have the ability to get to place. So roads and bridges has to be a high priority of a county. Law enforcement is an essential thing for us. Without law enforcement, you have chaos. We've seen that in other parts of our country, and we need to applaud our local law enforcement for the work they do here. It's not an easy job. It's not fun many days, and we have to support them, and we have to make sure they have the right equipment and the right tools to be able to do their job, because they're going to protect your property, and most importantly, they're going to protect you and your family, and we have to make sure we're there for them as leaders in the community. The next area is our tax base. We have to make sure that we do not overtax our property tax in this county. If we want to encourage businesses to be here, time's up. Thank you.
Next question. How would you encourage county residents to voice their suggestions and/or concerns regarding matters you make decisions on?
I think one of my strong suits is that I'm a good listener. I treat everybody with respect. And I think in the 12 years I've been a commissioner, it's just kind of a norm. I get tons of telephone calls from my constituents, and I treat everybody with, I'll listen to them. If there's something I can do, they know I'll try and do it. I've tried to do many things. Sometimes you don't always give them the right answers that they want, but everybody deserves to be listened to respectfully.
All right. One of the valuable tools I've had is Facebook. That has been valuable for my campaign, for letting people tell me, this is what I think you need to work on. This is what we need to fix. For somebody like me, new coming into this, the most dangerous thing for me is I don't know what I don't know. The constituents are able to reach out there and tell me. Part of that communication, though, is feedback. I won't always give them the answer they want to hear, but you got to be able to give them that feedback. They got to know they were heard. If people know that they're heard, they won't have a problem coming back to you with the next issue. It's the issues you don't know about that bite you on the rear end. Because those issues blow up and then they get too big to handle. So that's my biggest thing with that, is just keep going to the town hall, going to the city council meetings, going to the town meetings, keeping that line of communication open with the towns within your district, because those are also valuable sources of information. Thank you very much.
Well, I think that is a challenge, and a challenge to answer some of these questions in 1 minute, too. I mentioned communications is us getting information, but it is us listening to what the public wants. But it is difficult to get folks to come out and express their feelings a lot of times on the preliminary. And that's when decisions are being made, And so, after decisions are made, then you have a large crowd at the city council meeting, and that's not necessarily the best time. So it is a matter of being out, being available. I've had more conversations in Hugo's grocery store, out at the transfer station, dropping off my garbage, and church, at sporting events, and that's when you kind of find out what people are concerned about, and you just have to take the time to listen. Thank you.
Yes, I think taking the time to listen is probably the key to the whole thing. Most people, when they do approach, when I was on city council, it was very emotional for people on a specific topic. And most people are not that comfortable speaking about their feelings or the emotions. And it's how you perceive what they're saying and the feedback you give them initially. And I found very, very useful when I don't know the answer to something, be honest. That's all you can be, is honest, and tell them, you know what, I don't know today, but I promise you this, I will educate myself, and I am that kind of person. I will dig, and I dig, and I dig, and my wife will attest to that. I will find and get to the bottom of a particular topic, and I think that's most people, when they approach you, and you can be honest with them, they will accept that.
Pretty much my whole adult life, I've served on boards, church board, chamber board, education foundation board, hospital board. I've been in the legislature, and the one thing is always constant, and these fellows are saying it right on, you have to listen. Listening is the key. If you don't listen, you cannot represent your people, and they will not be comfortable talking to you. You have to be available to them. You have to be accessible in many different ways. Nowadays, I understand you have to do all the electronic forms, and you have to make that available to them. Personally, I like to see face-to-face. I like to have a good old-fashioned handshake, which I guess we're not allowed to do anymore. But a handshake and eye-to-eye conversation with people, that's how you really find out what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and you can learn so much from them by doing that face-to-face conversation. So being accessible as much as you can everywhere you go, like you say, the grocery store or wherever you happen to be, just be available and listen, and then take their concerns where they have to go to get something done for them. Thank you.
Thank you. And next question. How will you effectively represent your specific district?
Well, refer to number 3. Everything there would hold for my specific district. But Polk County is Polk County. We have 5 commissioners, and what's good in one district is usually good in another. And I really take pride in, we're a team. And I think Gary would agree with that we work together, and if you don't have that, I've seen some counties where there's a lot of conflict between the commissioners, and I think we do an excellent job of working together as a team. It's a team effort, believe you me. Thank you.
How would I effectively represent my specific district? As Jerry said earlier, we represent more of a rural district for our area. One of my big concerns is to make sure that they're getting the most out of their tax dollars. People don't like to pay taxes, but if they're paying something for it, they want to see the value. They want to know what they're getting for it, and my job will be to get them everything I can out of every tax dollar. If somebody comes and say, I'd like money for this, well, explain to me why. Explain to me why is it worth more for you and what you want to do than it is in my constituents' tax in their pocket. Keep those line of communications open. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I mentioned earlier Facebook's been golden, but like a lot of these other guys, I'd like to be out there face-to-face with people right now. Unfortunately, it's not an option, but we've got to be flexible. In the Army, we had a term called flexecution. Be flexible and be ready to execute. Change with the times. That's what I hope to be able to bring to my constituents.
Well, I think this ties into the previous question. It is a matter of getting out, visiting school boards, city councils, going to service clubs, Lions, Rotary, Kiwanis, and introducing yourself and talking a little bit about what the county does. It is a big learning curve. It's amazing how many lives the county touches with over 300 employees, millions of dollars in budgets. It's a little overwhelming. So it's getting really into what the individual departments do, probably 12 plus departments. And then lastly, there's 87 other counties in the state of Minnesota, and they're in the Association of Minnesota Counties. And there are a lot of opportunities to talk with other people and lobby for concerns that citizens have here in Polk County. Thanks.
I too think this 3 and 4 questions were kind of contradictory to each other and the same. Basically, for me, it's listen, educate, and respond. And that's very simple. I think just listen to people, educate myself so I can educate them, and bring information to the county board and to certain department heads if need be, and the reasons why something can be done or the reason why it can't be done. And if it can't be done, then, the reasons why it can't be done. I'm not asking to reinvent the wheel, but maybe just to look at things from a different little perspective differently. Just because we've always done it one way doesn't mean it's always been the right way of doing something.
I don't have any specific personal agenda to be serving on the county board. I want to represent my district at the board as a whole, not myself. And I think that's important because you can be open to all the different ideas, all the different thoughts and perspectives. And one thing I really want to do is, the first thing is get right out there to every office, every agency that the county has, meet with every employee, get to know them, get to know what they do, what their plans are for the near future and the long-range plans for the county, so you can understand where we are and where we're going, and so we can understand what things we can do to help along that process to keep our county moving forward. And again, it does tie in with the previous question. That involves listening. We have to listen to not only our constituents but our county employees, so we can represent our districts fairly.
Final question for this evening for you as a group, with an individual response, of course. What is your view on line 3?
Well, first of all, I think fossil fuels are going to be with us a lot longer than some people say they are. I'm all for alternative energy. Solar is probably going to be the final one that'll do the job. But in the process, we need fossil fuels. Line 3 is an aging line. It's dangerous right now. And what they're doing is doubling the size of the wall, so it's going to be extremely safe. They've had a good record, but this is going to do the job for them. And by doing that, they'll double their output because they'll put a little more pressure on the line, and that's going to help our tax base throughout our county terrifically, because the improvements will generate many more dollars in revenue.
For line 3, I don't like it. I don't think we have a choice, though. The line needs to be replaced. It's old. There's chances of leakage. Problem is, for this new line, you're going to cut through some fragile wetlands. And to be honest, you just can't trust oil companies to take care of the environment. They don't have a track record. I mean, but unfortunately, the other option is continuing to use rail, continuing to use road. Tears up our roads, puts more vehicles on the road, makes it more dangerous. Continue to use rails that can be used for other things. Again, I don't think we have a choice. I think we have to go with it, but I don't like it. Thank you.
Line 3, it's been studied, I think, now for at least 2 years, and the concern is safety. I'm not sure if anything's 100% safe, but I do feel that this is going in the right direction. It's certainly not safe to have all these oil cars going through our communities. They derail, they run into cars and things like that, and they're not 100% either. But I do think that Enbridge has put a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of investment into this. Many of you maybe don't understand, Enbridge is the highest taxpayer in the county. If they're not here, all of us are going to be paying a tremendous amount or curbing a heck of a lot of services, and that's a reality. So, yeah, I think it's the safest thing, it's a direction, and probably the right way to go.
I, too, am in favor of Line 3 with today's technologies and everything, the safety measures, the environmental studies that have been done. I feel very confident it can be installed and operated safely for the next period of time until alternative energies are more cost-effective and it can be introduced into our environment safely.
There's no doubt that we're going to have fossil fuels around for a long time to come. It's not going away, and we need a safe way to transport it. And going through a pipe that has been constructed the way this is being designed, that is by far the safest way to do it. Having these long trains full of oil going down our tracks and interfering with traffic and truck traffic is not the right way to go. We need to have that pipe in the ground. And I think a lot of people would be very shocked if they actually knew the total number of tax dollars that go into the counties based on from that pipeline. So we definitely need to get that thing built and get it built soon.
That ends all of our formal questions. I appreciate your feedback, and we'll have closing comments, 1 minute in length to each of you, and we'll close out the evening for the county commissioner candidates.
Well, thank you again for giving me this opportunity to speak to you. And tell you a little bit about myself. And I feel my 12 years experience serving as a commissioner makes me qualified to continue serving you for the next 4 years. For many years, I felt the call to be in public service, and it's been an honor to serve this county board and other multi-county boards. And fiscal responsibility, long-range planning, teamwork, in making sound decisions in a nonpartisan environment, that's our goal, and that's what we work for. And I'll always try to give you the answers, and I'll work as hard as I can for you. Again, thank you for this opportunity to serve you, and I would appreciate your vote on November 3rd to represent you for the next 4 years as your District 1 Commissioner.
If you always do what you always done, you always get what you always got. That's the choice before y'all now. Continue the same path or bring in some new ideas with new flexibility. Throughout the Army, I increased in responsibilities in every job I had. I've overseen multi-million-dollar budgets. I've overseen a staff of over 100 soldiers. Was responsible for every military member's pay in Korea. I hold a human resources degree from University of Maryland, a master's degree in international relations for concentration in conflict resolution from American Military University. I'm currently working on an animal science degree from University of Minnesota, Crookston. I've started a small farm here. I've laid down my roots here. I want to serve. I want to continue to serve. People tell us thank you for your service for being in the military all the time. It's not like we have a choice. We have a calling. We answer that calling, and that's what I'm attempting to do here. I respectfully request the opportunity to be your District 1 Polk County Commissioner. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Well, just a shout out to the Polk County newsletter that's in the shopper and all around town. And a big thanks out to District 2 Commissioner Warren Strandell, who who puts this 26-page newsletter together 4 times a year. It's greatly appreciated. And maybe a prayer for him. He ended up putting his wife Annie in the hospital, certainly very serious condition there, and we certainly keep her in our prayers. Bringing people together to get things done and the willingness to find common ground and make good decisions is my goal. Together, I do believe that we accomplish more. I will appreciate your vote this election. I thank you for the opportunity to serve. I thank the Chamber and KROX for being here tonight, and Lance, and God bless Polk County. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the Chamber and KROX for putting this event on. I think it's been very good and useful. I, too, am thankful that we live in the part of the country we do. This election cycle, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, I think this election cycle, I think we're all could be considered to be conservatives in this part of the world. Just our heritage leans us to be conservative. And this election cycle is going to be very pivotal in our nation. And I'm very thankful to live in Polk County in Minnesota, where we do. Thank you.
I also want to thank the Chamber for putting on this tonight, and the radio, and all that the part where had their hand in making this a successful evening. You know, we're blessed. We are truly blessed to live in the country that we do. We have this opportunity every 2 years to go out and vote for individuals that are sticking themselves out there, their name out there, just to try. Everybody up here wants to do the right thing. That's the great thing about this election process. You get to choose, and you have good choices that you can make here. We don't have a lot of, I don't know any bad candidates that really happen in this part of the state. People truly want to do what's right for their community and for the people that they would represent. And I've always enjoyed that opportunity. I always enjoy helping people and sticking up for people and doing the right thing and helping them solve their problems. And I would certainly enjoy this opportunity to do that also in Polk County, because this is a good county. We're steady, we're even, and we're doing the right things. Thank you.
That concludes our county commissioner candidates. Thank you for your time, and allow us again a 5-minute turn. Thank you.
Oh, no, go ahead. Just slow.
And you're tuned in to the Meet the Candidates Forum put on by the Crookston Chamber of Commerce. And you just heard from the Polk County Commissioner candidates. In District 1, Jerry Jacobson, the incumbent, being challenged by Travis Johnson. In the 3rd District, Gary Wilhite, the incumbent, running unopposed. And in the 5th District, Mark Holy and Tim Finseth running for that opening, as Don Dietrich has announced he will not be running for re-election. So we've had Crookston School Board, City Council, and Polk County Commissioners. Now we're ready for our final 3 portions of the evening. And all as expected, running quite a bit behind the anticipated schedule, but the District 1B representatives will now start. It's incumbent Deb Keel, the Republican in District 1B. She is being challenged by Cindy Ansbacher, the Democratic candidate. As they're cleaning off the tables quickly here, we will have, again, the District 1B. That's Deb Keel, the Republican, and she is running for re-election. She's being opposed by Cindy Ansbacher. After the completion of the District 1B, we'll have the 9th District District Court, and then we'll have the senator for our Minnesota State Senator for District 1, Senator Mark Johnson. He is being opposed by Reed Perkins, and both Michelle Fischbach and Colin Peterson declined an invitation to the event here tonight. So we're just minutes away from starting our fourth portion of 6 this evening, and we will be having that coming up soon here as we'll have the video replay. We had one little blip at the beginning and then another little blip during the city council with just a stream issue there. But we should have most of it available for the replay online at KROXAM.com. Just look for the story there where the live streaming is, and we'll have it available there. So still working on the video streaming. We ran into it quick and need to upgrade some equipment to maybe work some of those kinks out, but otherwise it's been running pretty smooth here tonight. And so we'll have that coming up here. Again, the Crookston Chamber of Commerce putting on this Meet the Candidates forum, and we're just moments away here from the District 1B candidates. And not really debate style, it's just more of question and answer time, and we'll have some, I'm sure, the questions get a little tougher as we move up the rung here, and we'll have District 1B as they're talking things over. So, and we're about ready to go again. Riverview House, Lance Norman. Oh, just wait here. It looks like we're going to be going with the judge. They're throwing a curveball. It looks like here. So we'll have the...
And unable to attend this evening, James Hughes and...
Okay, so they're going to go with a different schedule here than what they gave us. They're going to go with the 9th District District Court. Incumbent Assistant Chief 9th District Judge is Jana Osted. James Hughes not able to make it. He's running for Assistant Chief 9th District Judge, and the incumbent Charles Halverson is here. So we'll have Jana Osted.
Opening comment.
Charles Halverson here for the 9th District District Court.
It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. We don't usually get these opportunities, and I came a long way to take advantage of it today. So I drove from Brainerd to be out here. It has been fascinating listening to all this, so I want to thank the Chamber and the radio for putting this on. I am Judge Charles Halverson. Most people know me as Chuck. I have been practicing law for over 30 years in the state of Minnesota. In 2018, I was appointed to be a judge. I now am running to stay a judge. I graduated from the University of North Dakota, went to law school at Hamlin, was hired as a judicial law clerk in Crow Wing County, worked for the 9th Judicial District, began practicing privately, then did some public defense work, and then I ran my own firm for 18 years, and then I became a judge. When I practiced, my focus was helping people solve problems. Now I have to decide problems for people. But in a lot of ways, sometimes it's the same thing. When you help people solve problems, you have to listen to what they think and say. You have to understand where they're coming from, and then apply the law as a judge and make a decision. So I am excited to be here. I am hoping that when we're done that we have convinced you to vote for us if you haven't already. And I thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jana Osted. I am also a district court judge in the 9th Judicial District. I am originally from Bemidji, Minnesota. That is where I grew up, another part of the 9th Judicial District. I think that this is a bit of a confusing process for a lot of folks. That is what I found when I've been out and meeting people. The 9th Judicial District is comprised of 17 different counties in the northwest corner of the state. So grew up in Bemidji, went to high school there, went to Augsburg College and then William Mitchell Law School. Worked for a while as a legislative aide with some lobbyists, so I learned how laws were made. Since after I completed law school, I went back to my hometown of Bemidji. I spent about 7 years in private practice there. One of my main areas of practice was as a township attorney. After that, I left and became the managing attorney for the State Public Defender's Office in the Brainerd area. Brainerd is where I've raised my 3 children. I practiced approximately 9 years in criminal defense. I did have a break in the time that I was serving as a criminal defense attorney to stay at home and raise my 3 children. So I stayed home for about 7 years before coming back to work. In June of 2013, I started on the bench in Cass County, so I am chambered in Cass County. I was reelected, and now this is my 2nd term. So judges' seats come up for election on a 6-year cycle. In 2019, I was elected by my peers as an assistant chief judge for the 9th Judicial District. It has been a pleasure to serve the citizens of Minnesota and the citizens of the 9th Judicial District in Cass County. It is my hope to continue that, and so I am asking for your support and your vote.
Thank you both for your opening comments. We'll move into questions posed to each of you. 1 minute response time for answering the question. The first question is, how has the pandemic affected court proceedings, and how are the courts dealing with this disruption going forward? This question is from Don Ondal, Marshall County Attorney.
It's a good question. I had the pleasure of being involved with state and district IT people before things were shut down early March, where we started experimenting with WebEx, Zoom, other mediums to figure out ways that we would be able to do court remotely. It took some work by the Supreme Court Chief Justice to get some of the rules modified, but we've effectively got court going through Zoom daily. It's at times interesting, but we have a backlog. It's the only effective way that we can deal with it. And people need to get their issues before the court, their problems solved, and we are doing the best we can to do that in a completely different world.
Thank you.
Same question.
Yes.
Judge Halverson and I had an opportunity to talk before we came up. So Judge Halverson and I are actually judges in the same county. So we did decide which part of these that we would talk about. The part that I wanted to talk about is that we did receive some CARES money in Cass County, so we were able to reconfigure our courtroom so that all of the jury chairs are taken out of the jury box and they are put in the audience area where they are 6 feet apart. We have used every inch of our courtroom in order to be able to have 14 jurors, so that would be a jury of 12 plus 2 alternates for long trials. And then have a location for the attorneys. So the attorneys are now seated in what used to be the jury box so that we could actually conduct safely a trial where everybody is masked, but witnesses can unmask so that the jury is in a position to see that. In addition to that, we have also hired 2 referees that are now assisting in the 9th Judicial District to take care of some backlog on some specific kinds of cases that do not require juries in particular.
All right, next question. What specific matters would you like to ask voters to pay extra attention to in the upcoming year?
Well, sitting here and listening to first the school board and then city council and county commissioners, COVID has caused everybody to try to do more with less. The same is going to be true for the court. There's going to be an upcoming biennium, and government and people making those decisions are going to have to figure out where that money goes. And it's true for the court system. We understand that we're going to have to try to do more with less, but we still have to keep it running. So voters are going to be asked to think about those things. And what I always try to remind people when we talk about it, there are 3 branches of government. There's the executive branch, there's the legislative branch, and there's the judicial branch. And all 3 are important for our government to work.
Thank you.
I think the issue that I would ask people to pay attention to in the coming years is to try to more deeply understand the judiciary. It is one of the branches of government, and it does have a different function. Right now, we are dealing with the appointment of a new Supreme Court justice. That's been very political in Congress. But if citizens can start to understand better that district court judges are not Supreme Court judges, I think that there's been suspicion that district court judges can make legislation or do what they want. That's not an accurate understanding of our system. District court judges are held to the law. They are held to the decisions that our state Supreme Court and our United States Supreme Court have made. And understanding that difference may help people have more confidence in the court and their community if they have to show up and meet the judge in their county.
Thank you. Next question. Name something specific you feel voters should know about your campaign.
That being a judge is a nonpartisan position. We don't run under a political party flag. We don't do that for a reason. Politics can undermine impartiality. Minnesota has had a long tradition of judges running, and when they have to run, not being politically connected. If you affiliate with a party, is there a risk that you now have to make rulings that are consistent with that party agenda? I have many people supporting me that are Republicans. I have many people supporting me that are Democrats. I have many people supporting me that are in the middle. And politics needs not to be part of this process. It's not part of that process from my perspective, and that's an important part of my campaign.
Thank you.
As to my campaign, I really wanted to focus on being positive, educational, and professional. The more divisive politics gets, the more it's an invitation into responding and reacting, and that's the wrong thing for our judiciary, and I think it's the wrong thing for the citizens of Minnesota. I think things about judicial campaigns that people may not know. I do not know who has contributed to my campaign. I don't know how much. I don't know who may have not. I do not get to know anything about the way that occurs. I think that's important for people to know. Another thing that people may not know is, as a sitting judge, I can never take a position on any contested race. That also means that all of the other judges in this community cannot take a position on my race or Judge Halverson's race. And that's a little challenging, given the fact that those are frequently the people that know best our work.
Okay, thank you again. Next question. In what ways can the court system help address addiction problems our society is facing?
Treatment courts, treatment courts, treatment courts. And we have 3 kinds that function in this judicial district. We have domestic violence courts, we have DUI courts, and we have drug courts. Chemical dependency is a huge problem throughout this judicial district. And I was involved in treatment courts and was passionate about treatment courts as a practicing attorney because, frankly, as a criminal defense attorney, many of my people suffered from addiction. It was a vehicle and a mechanism for them to get in, be subject to supervision, intensive supervision. That's generally the label that those type programs are identified. And then they develop the support, they develop a sober network, and they develop a foundation to rebuild hope so that they can find a way to get past that, get and stay sober. And it's been one of the best and most effective tools we've invented in the court system.
I agree. Specialty courts have been a critical way to be creative, to solve problems that have just been intransigent in the system. Mental health, chemical dependency are pervasive, particularly in the criminal arena in court. I am the judge, I co-judge actually with Judge Troyer. It is the Cass County Leech Lake Joint Jurisdiction Wellness Court. That is a specialty court for DWI offenders looking to reduce recidivism. That's been an excellent program to participate with. We have really strong recidivism numbers, meaning that we are more successful than traditional programs that way. In addition, that's also built up a relationship between Cass County and the Leech Lake tribe, and I really can't say enough positive about that. It allows you this process to continue learning. Everything you learn changes, what we learn about brains, what we learn about how people react. It is definitely not a one-size-fits-all. Specialty courts are what allow the creativity.
All right. Next question. How would you encourage county residents to voice their suggestions and/or concerns regarding matters you make decisions on?
Well, it's a little more difficult on the decision end, but suggestions are welcome. The court system has gotten more attuned to being more customer-focused. A few years back, they did surveys in all the court facilities, and we still are processing some of the recommendations that came in from people, and some of the recommendations from people have been implemented. The court isn't going to be there if it doesn't have people to use it. And if we don't listen to what the people who use our courts think, feel about the experience, and then try to fix some of those things, we're doing them a disservice.
Thank you.
So one of the things a citizen can do is you can encourage your local judges to have a listening session. That is something that's encouraged by the branch, and I think that your local judges here have done that. I know in other parts of the district, judges have agreed to do listening sessions as well. The specific question that was asked was concerning matters you make a decision on. And one of the things that is challenging about that question is that it is important for people to understand that this branch of government is where an individual goes to resolve their disputes. It is not the place of public opinion. That is the legislature. That is electing an executive branch. So while we welcome feedback, particularly on process, it's important for people to understand that judges have to be insulated from public opinion. That is the thing that protects the individual against the tyranny of the majority. That is part of that process. It is part of our democracy.
Thank you, Jan. We did receive a question posed to each of you individually. They're separate questions. So Judge Ostad, first for you. What qualifies other than obvious fairness and impartiality will you bring to the bench that makes you the perfect candidate?
We'll start with the fact that I'm not the perfect candidate and not the perfect judge. What I can say is that I'm deeply committed to doing the right thing. I think the two items that were identified are probably the most important things, but I do know that our Judicial Selection Commission is specifically tasked with identifying candidates who have integrity, maturity, good health if it's job-related, judicial temperament, diligence, legal knowledge, ability and experience, and community service. So there was a time when a judge that's appointed, like I was, where you are vetted for these particular qualities. And not only has the state decided that they're important, but they've been consistent over a long period of time, whether there's been a Republican governor or a Democratic governor. I believe I have those qualities. That's why I was appointed to the bench. And I hope that everybody that's appeared in front of me feels that way. That's the critical part of that.
Thank you. And Judge Halverson, for you specifically, what about your experience makes you the best candidate?
I think when you work with people to problem solve, and I touched on this earlier, you develop listening skills. You develop understanding skills. You get a better sense of where people are because not everybody that comes into the courtroom has a gifted ability to communicate. You have to fight through some of their barriers to really understand what they're trying to tell you. And if you truly want to help somebody as an attorney, especially if you're dealing with chemical dependency or mental health issues, you have to fight through some of those barriers. And sometimes you have to do that as a judge. When people come into the courtroom and they feel that their case matters, you're going to listen to them, that whether you rule in their favor or not, that they feel that you spent time and you give your time to listen and care, the system works.
Thank you. That ends our formal questions. So, per our format, of course, 1 minute for closing comments.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Just 1 moment for closing comments.
Closing comments, thank you. Okay. Did you want to go first, or?
I can.
Okay.
Judge Oster, go ahead.
All right. The focus has been throughout this particular campaign to reach out to citizens, to have them understand how our judiciary is set up, and hopefully how to exercise their right to vote in a positive, informed way. So for that, I particularly thank the Chamber and KROX for putting this on and including us. I don't know the judges have been included in this process in the past. Myself and the other judges that I've worked with are highly committed to the citizens of the state. I do ask that as you go forward and you make these decisions, to understand that this is an institution in Minnesota that has remained nonpartisan. I believe that best serves the citizens. That's the commitment I make. I do not make decisions based on my personal values. I make them based on the laws that have been passed by our legislature here in Minnesota and interpreted by our Supreme Court. In order for our judiciary to stay nonpartisan, it is important that people vote. I ask you to turn your ballot over and vote for the incumbent, in my case, Judge Osted.
Judge Holverson.
The judicial selection process is made up of citizens all over the state who review applications when there's a judicial opening. And they go through that and they determine a list of candidates that they're going to interview. And then they bring some of those in, and after that they narrow that group down and they pass that on to the governor, and then the governor interviews people. And then the decision is made. And I can tell you that the decision isn't about political affiliation. It isn't about which party you belong to. They go through and pick out all of the qualities that Judge Osted identified and who is the best candidate. Because there is this belief in this state that there's pride in Minnesota's court system, that it is not filled with partisan politics, that it's about putting people in who have the best ability to do the job. And I was appointed for reasons because of my 30-plus years of experience, my relationships with people, and I ask you all to vote, and I thank you for this opportunity to be able to speak.
All right, thank you. That concludes our Meet the Candidates for the 9th District Court candidates. Following our 5 minutes, we'll have our District 1B representatives on the stage, and I'll welcome you up just after we get things arranged.
And you're in tune to the Voice of the Valley, AM 1260 KROX in Crookston, Minnesota. If you're listening on 1260 AM, 105.7 FM, also in the Grand Forks, East Grand Forks area, 92.1. This is the Crookston Chamber of Commerce Meet the Candidates Forum. And coming up, our final 2 sessions here will be District 1B representative, the incumbent Deb Keel, the Republican, being challenged by Democratic candidate Cindy Ansbacher. And then following that, our final portion of the evening will be the Senate District 1B, the Republican incumbent Mark Johnson being challenged by the Democratic candidate Reed Perkins. So that's what's coming up here. But again, we will have the District 1B representatives. They will be next on the hot seat. And it'll be Deb Keel, the incumbent, being challenged by Cindy Ansbacher as they clean off the tables. And we will have that coming up here in just a few moments. So stay tuned as we see Deb Keel and Cindy Ansbacher getting ready to take the stage. So stand by, and we will have that coming up here very quickly. Again, we'll be having interviews with the candidates. We'll be posting those on our website at kroxam.com. We've been talking to all of them that are here, and then the ones that aren't here we're getting in contact with, but we'll start that coverage in the next week here, so be looking for that. A lot to cover. As both candidates look like they're about ready to take the stage. Again, Riverview Health, Lance Norman. He is at the podium, and he is the one asking all the questions. And so we'll have that coming up here. Now we see Deb Keel. Okay, getting ready as she will come up to the stage first, and then Cindy Ansbacher right behind her. So it'll be, if you're watching on the screen, Deb Keel to the right, Cindy Ansbacher to the left, so that means Keel will go first with all the questions.
All right, welcome and thank you.
It's harder to hear up there.
We'll have a bit of a change in our format and the opening comments availability for 3 minutes. If we'd like to go ahead and begin. Deb?
Well, good evening. Thank you very much to the KROX and the school and, of course, the Chamber for providing this opportunity for us as we seek to represent District 1B. I really appreciate that. I have served in District 1B for 10 years or 5 terms, and very proud to serve my hometown and my home area. District 1B, just for those listening that don't know the size of it, it is larger than the state of Delaware. So it encompasses all of Polk County, all of Red Lake, and most of Pennington. I have been proud to serve in the Minnesota House in different committees, but always in the Agricultural Committee because there are 4 of us in Ag in the entire House of Representatives, and I feel that this district is very agricultural and needs to be represented as Minnesota. It is the largest part of one of the largest parts of our industries. I also serve on this last term was state government, which was a new venue for me, and served on health and human services issues, starting with long-term care, and then adding healthcare, HHS policy, and then finance has been my latest new venture. I'm honored to be part of some other working groups that I've been asked to serve on, but have really moved toward health and human services, and I am now the lead in the Republican Party for health and human services policy, which when I started out in this venture, there was no thought of COVID-19. So we are going to have some serious challenges coming up because of COVID-19 in our industries that are not working or working at a lower end. Our issues with just making sure that our businesses can function, but function to a full capacity is a goal I have. I would like to see us get our schools back, our children back in order. I have the honor of having 2 grandchildren attend school here, and I know as much as school is somewhat a problem, They both are willing and ready and able to attend school every day, and I think that is the best for their education. Now, do we have some challenges? Yeah, we absolutely do. But I look forward to serving in District 1B again, and I know that we will work hard to make sure that our businesses are back up and running, that we can seek. We absolutely need that to happen. So I thank you.
Thank you, Representative Keel. Should be active.
Yes, thank you for having me. My name is Cindy Ansbacher, the Democratic Farmer Labor candidate for, I have 15 seconds left. I'm going to pay attention to that clock. Okay, good. All right, reset. So my name is Cindy Ansbacher. I'm the Democratic Farmer Labor candidate for Minnesota House of Representatives 1B. I am here tonight, first of all, also to thank KROX, the Crookston Times, and Terry Hagee and the Chamber for bringing this all together. And I know that, as stated before, though, KROX and the Crookston Times have really reached out and done a lot locally to keep people safe with COVID and give them that information, and to keep them alerted to how to vote safely and how to meet the candidates. So I'm happy to be here for that. I'm 57 years old. I have a 25-year-old son named Benjamin, who I think is moving up with me this winter, and that'll be really nice. He's from Florida. And I have a bachelor's degree in nursing, in science of nursing, so it's a BSN. But right now I'm a retired nurse, and I work as a designated support person in a group home for Lutheran Social Services of Minnesota, and I have been for 5 years. So healthcare has been a focus of my expertise my whole life. And I hope going in as your representative that that's something I can bring to the table, is my strength as a healthcare provider. I also moved to Crookston in 2006. I've been active. Always my whole life been an active volunteer in the communities that I've participated in. Locally here, I'm on the Prairie Skyline Foundation for the restoration of the old cathedral. I also participate in groups like the Collectors Club, Sons of Norway. Trying to think, there's so many other fun things. I love connecting with my community. And as your legislator, I will work to connect with you in a positive way, where it's warm, it's easy, I'm accessible, and you will be able to get what you need from me. As a nurse, we always would say, okay, nurse, can you do this, or do you know this? Well, we would go find the answer and get it back to you, and that's what I'll do as your legislator. So I'm just so happy to be here this evening, and thank you for having me. And I want you, no matter what, to go out and vote early. Thank you.
Thank you both for your opening comments. We'll begin with our questions. We have some repetition and some questions that have been posed to some of our other representatives up on the stage this evening, so we'll begin with this. First one, regarding the impact of the pandemic is significant for our local businesses. Statewide, small businesses are closing. Many of our local businesses benefited from the CARES Act dollars and other financial programs offered over the past few months. However, this just isn't enough. What is your plan on ensuring our businesses stay open? Representative Keel, if you want to start.
Thank you. Yes, it has been devastating to see what has happened to our small businesses. The challenges that raise from just struggling to keep a business afloat in normal times is, I just feel for those businesses, because I can imagine how difficult it is, and have talked to quite a few people that say, how do I get open? And it doesn't seem, unfortunately, the one-size-fits-all didn't work so well in Minnesota, and very disappointed that our students weren't left in school longer. There was ways we could have done that in our northern area. But I do feel that with the CARES Act, money could have gone out sooner. And my plan to ensure us to move ahead is to get everyone up and running and have them make the choices that they need to do for their lives and their health.
Thank you. Response?
So the question is, what is my plan on ensuring that our businesses stay open? And as I think one of the council members or commissioners mentioned, even before COVID, small businesses surviving in these towns where you have, Walmart or other areas that draw people away from city centers. It's a challenge. And now you have COVID, and yes, people had to keep their doors shut, and we're back open now. But I would say I would promote safe COVID precautions, bring people in with proper child care that's available when they want to live in a town, and fully fund education so that schools can do what they need to do during these times and in the future.
Thank you. Next question. The condition of roads and bridges in poor condition and in some situations closed are an ongoing issue. There continues to be delays in moving forward in this area. What is your opinion and plan to see progress take place?
Well, first of all, closed bridges, yes. If they're smaller, there are challenges with getting equipment, but yes, they're funded. And I would love to say that in the next session, we'll fund more and get that done. And we do have a budget for that in the Transportation Committee. However, we are in dire straits as a state, and we are going to have to really reconsider our priorities as far as roads and bridges. What we do to fix things, what we consistently keep our roads going is very important to our economic engine in Minnesota. So that's important. And the closed bridge that we challenge within the county isn't as much Polk County's problem as it is North Dakota's problem. And so that needs to go to a federal level and get open. And it is economically important for us also. So I would see us making progress. We did more funding for townships and counties, but need to continue that funding. But I'm afraid we're probably going to be a little slower at it this next session.
Thank you for that. Go ahead. Yes,
Thank
please.
You. Okay. So the question is, the condition of our roads and bridges are in poor condition. And actually, that's just an ongoing thing, maintenance of infrastructure, keeping roads healthy. And in some situations, these things, it says closed. What is my opinion and plan to see progress take place? Well, actually, one of my original plans as elected was to make sure the bonding bill finally got passed once I took office, because at the point that I had put that in the Crookston Times, the bonding bill had not passed yet. Well, it has passed. I'll point out that Deb Kill voted against it, and so did Mark Johnson, and I understand that's for specific reasons that they have shared. But it helps us keep those projects going, and it helps. Let's see, 20 million of that went to Lake Bronson Dam in Kitson County, which without that money might have a failure of that dam. So these things need to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. What is your view on Line 3?
Well, we need it. We need it for multiple reasons. We need it to move oil safely. We need it to free up rails for other products. We need it for financial values. It helps our counties, our school districts. There's a huge financial impact. Right now, the oil is running through Line 3 at a low rate. That means that that's what we can tax. If we have a fully flowing pipeline in Line 3, then they will be charged a higher tax, and that will help our schools, like I said, our counties, our communities. There are communities here that will actually, if this does not happen, they could fail, go bankrupt. And that's, in this district, that's a very important issue. We need to make sure that funds helps us to, there are towns that rely entirely on Line 3 for funding. And I'm just very much in support of it. And if you've seen the pipeline that they're going to put in, which I encourage you to see, is huge. It is absolutely fortified and an excellent product.
Thank you.
Whether you're for or against Line 3, there's a few things that still need to be considered. One is that, what do we do with the old pipeline? And I hope Enbridge is willing to remove that or take care of that. I have not seen that they have any plans for that. Two is that we're violating a treaty by putting that line through Native American lands, and that would affect the Ojibwe. If that can be put through without a violation of the treaty, I think that would be so respectful of people who are the first people. And in these times, we need to show as much respect of people of diverse areas that are not of our own life, and respect and honor laws and order and treaties. I also know that it has a lot, once through, it will provide a lot of people seem to support it, so I want it just to be part of a clean energy program. Thank you.
Thank you both. Next question. Please address the most recent $1.9 billion bonding bill and Governor Walz's emergency powers.
Okay, so first of all, the bonding bill, and yes, that is true, I did vote against it. We did not fund everything in that $1.9 billion bonding, and we needed to make sure, and I guess you have to have financial backing before you start spending money. I mean, none of us would go out and buy a couch when we couldn't feed our children. There are important things in that bonding bill, and I absolutely support them. We do need to make sure that we can finance roads and bridges. We do need to make sure that we have clean water and we provide for our citizens. Those are important things. As far as Governor Walz's handling of COVID-19, in the beginning, when we were looking to flatline, make sure our hospitals were prepared for the oncoming slaughter, the patients that we thought were coming, we needed to make sure that we were able to be ready for that. Now, we have serious problems in the state, financially and onward. They're talking $7 billion in debt, and we need to get the businesses going again. So I think we need to talk about how we live with, adapt with COVID-19. Thank you.
Okay. So budgets are extremely important, and funding our infrastructure are also extremely important. I'm very happy that that bonding bill was passed. I think it's going to provide jobs, support our local economies, and give hope to people in our communities, especially during this time of COVID-19. I will say that I'm going to school too, reading all these things, learning about the process, and one of the things I read was that it's constitutional that the budget is balanced every other year. So by July 2021, I will work with the state to make that happen. But meanwhile, we have what we need through our bonding bill. Thank you.
And final question before closing remarks. This question. It may be years before the impact of COVID that is made on our Minnesota school system is identified. How will you ensure exceptional education services for our students, faculty, and staff?
Yes, that's going to be a problem, isn't it? It's why we need the kids to come back to school. The students need to be actively educated. I would like to say that we could fund more career and tech opportunities for children, because I think as students graduate from high school, it's an opportunity to provide a job, strengthen their knowledge, and from there they could even go on and go into a four-year degree and expand their knowledge and education. However, once again, I hate to be the bearer of horrible news, but I think everyone knows if you don't have jobs, you cannot bring in tax dollars, and we have to have private jobs. We have to be able to educate our students. If we create a lot of government jobs, I believe, this is when my husband ran for office, he had an accountant look at this. It takes 22 private jobs to pay for one government job. You have to have private jobs, and that is what we need to work on so that we can provide education. Thank you.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay. While it's on my brain, just to let you know, our state's in a red spot on the map for COVID. And if Governor Walz followed what the instructions say, we would all be in a stay-home order right now. Right now, things are happening. Now, they're going to get worse, and I am a retired nurse, and I know things get better. But we need to do what we're doing. Wear our masks like we're doing tonight. Wash our hands. Stay safe, 6 feet apart. Do what's right in the classroom. Do what's right for our teachers during COVID. And in order to do this, I feel we should fully fund our public education system so they can have what they need in the home or in distance learning. Give students something to look forward to. Pass livable wages. Pass single-payer health care. Give people hope. Hope that they won't have bills to choose from versus food to feed their children with. So that's what I'm for, and thank you.
So we have 1 minute for closing comments from each of you. Representative Keel, if you want to begin.
Thank you. Thank you once again for taking time, and for those listening in the audience, I thank you for listening to this. I know it gets to be a long night. Hopefully, I believe KROX will be playing it more often, so they'll have an opportunity to hear it. But I thank you all for providing this. I missed thanking also the Crookston Times. I appreciate that the news media covers our active campaigns, and I thank you very much. I look forward to working again. I would hope that you would vote for me, but I really think that we've got some challenges ahead. Whether we are at home working in our own private businesses, or we're working in county or state, city government, the school districts, we're going to have to all work together to get through this road bump, which has become a bigger mountain than before, and that we can all pull together. It's more than just washing your hands. That's important, but we need to make sure that we are supporting each other, because mental health is becoming a problem. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, I don't have a question. Okay, great. All right, I just want to finish up with actually just Deb reminded me, yes, mental health is extremely, extremely important. I support NAMI, National Association of Mental Health, and of course Northwest Mental Health Services, and I'm also a consumer of their services. So I value what they provide to our community, especially during these times. As a retired nurse, I remind, that I've already said, get out there, put on your mask, wash your the order is wash your hands, put on your mask, take off your mask, make sure that's washed, and then wash your hands again. So it's kind of simple things, but these simple things save lives and will get us back to where we want to be, need to be sooner. So get out to vote. If you need to, I know in person, or most of you have already voted by mail. If you have a mail-in vote, please mail it in today and vote for who you feel is the best choice for you today. Thank you.
And thank you both for attending and spending time with us this evening. We'll have have our final 5-minute disinfection, and we'll move ahead with our final 2 candidates.
That was the District 1B candidates. Again, the Republican and incumbent Deb Keel being challenged by the Democratic candidate Cindy Ansbacher. So we'll have a little cleaning here, and then we'll have our final session of the Meet the Candidates Forum, again put on by the Crookston Chamber of Commerce, an event they've been putting on for many years, and we've been broadcasting them live both on KROX radio for many years. And it's the first time we've live streamed it here, and we hope you've been taking in the coverage. We're happy that you're tuning in this evening to find out more about these candidates, what they have to say. Again, we'll have a lot of coverage on our website, KROXAM.com. We'll have on the news as well. We'll have interviews with these candidates. That's all going to be coming up here as we get ready for November 3rd, Election Day. Again, if you haven't been paying close attention, we might not know some of the winners on November 3rd, and we will know by November 10th, a week later, because of the new mail-in ballots. You can mail them in. The last day that they have to be postmarked would be November 3rd, so they're going to give a week, and Michelle Cody of the Polk County, the head of the Polk County voting, she said that they will have the final results November 10th. They won't release anything else until the 10th. So we'll know for sure, but the closer races, like the local ones, that could have a pretty big effect on. So stay tuned to that. We'll keep you updated, and we'll have election night coverage as we do. That'll be on November 3rd on KROX, and then we'll have to have some again on November 10th when the official results are released. Now we're getting ready for the Minnesota State Senator for District 1, the incumbent and Republican Mark Johnson. He's being challenged by Reed Perkins, and those two are on the stage, and we'll be hearing from them here shortly. Again, Riverview House, Lance Norman. He is the chair of the Chamber of Commerce Board, and he has been asking all the questions, and we're getting ready for him here in just a moment. You'll hear Lance.
All right. This will be our final candidates forum for the evening. Senator Mark Johnson and Senator candidate Reed Perkins. We'll have a similar setup to our this evening with a 3-minute opening comment and a 1-minute response with regard to the questions and a final 1-minute closing comment. So as far as our first 3 minutes for opening comments, perhaps we'll begin with you, Senator Johnson.
All right. Well, thank you. And I also like to echo what most people have said tonight. Thank you, Terry, for putting this on tonight in the Crookston Area Chamber and Visitor Center. Also, KROX Radio, Crookston Times. Lance, thank you for moderating this. Appreciate that. And Jeremy Olson, superintendent here at CHS, for opening up the doors and allowing us to come in. I'd also like to thank my wife, Skylar, who is single-handedly putting our kids to bed tonight, which is usually takes a small team to do. So thank you, Sky, for doing that. And on behalf of my wife and kids and I want to say thank you to a majority of the voters of Senate District 1 who trusted me these past 4 years to represent our families, our communities at the Minnesota State Senate. Folks, in the last year here, I think we've really turned a corner, and we can see each day the difference in our state between what is happening down in St. Paul and the disconnect of what we need in rural Minnesota. When Governor Walz usurped our power, our voice in rural Minnesota, we really felt that pain. And my goal in going down to St. Paul, the reason that I am running for this seat is to ensure that we get that voice back and to make sure that we are well represented, our rural interests, our rural values down in St. Paul. So thank you again for this opportunity. I look forward to the questions and debate tonight.
Thank you, Senator Candidate Perkins.
Thank you, and absolutely thank you to KROX, thank you to the Chamber, thank you to the Crookston Times, and thank you to our moderator who's now been standing for 3.5 hours, which is never an easy feat. So thank you, thank you. To introduce myself, my name is Reed Perkins. I'm running for State Senate. My background is as a science teacher. My wife is active duty Air Force. We have 2 amazing children. I was born and raised here in Minnesota, but have spent the last 10 years or so traveling the country, stationed at different Air Force bases, and it really crystallized for me just how lucky I was to be born and raised here in Minnesota. And now that I'm back, I want to take some of the skills and experience that I've gained and put them to use giving back to a state that set me up for success so well. So as I said, I'm a science teacher. What does that mean if a scientist is trying to become a politician? Well, it means that if I'm looking for a solution to a problem, I'm not looking for the Democratic solution, I'm not looking for the Republican solution, I'm looking for the solution that's going to work. I'm looking to include talking to experts and data in our decision making in a way that they really haven't been. If we're looking at something like a farm bill, I want to be talking to the farmers in the district because those are the experts on farming in this district and bringing that voice to the table in crafting legislation. If we look at the way our founding fathers set up this country, they set it up with states as laboratories of democracy. We need to be looking to other states because we normally aren't the first ones to encounter a problem. And that means if there's another state that has successfully tackled a problem, we can use that as a roadmap and we have no need to reinvent the wheel. If a state has unsuccessfully tried to tackle a problem, that also tells us what we need to not be doing. So there's a lot there that as a scientist, I think that approach is necessary when crafting legislation. For the last 4 or 5 months or so, I have personally made 8,000 phone calls into this district, talking to voters, talking about their needs. And that, with my volunteer team, includes over 1,000 phone calls here into Crookston. It is those one-on-one conversations that are the most important in terms of finding out what somebody's needs are, because it is only once you know what those needs are that you can appropriately bring those needs to St. Paul and give Northwest Minnesota the voice it deserves. And if I'm elected, I promise to continue having those conversations, coming back to the district again and again, talking to everybody while the session is going on, making certain that people are happy with what they're seeing. As a further example, over the course of this campaign, I've had one-on-one conversations with Senator Dave Durenberger, the longest-serving Republican senator that Minnesota has ever seen, talking about ag issues, talking about bringing stability for our farmers. I've also had conversations with Senator Tina Smith about rural child care, making certain that we are talking to everybody, cross parties. That's the way that we know that our needs are brought to St. Paul, that Northwest Minnesota has a seat at the table, and that we are getting our fair share.
Thank you for your opening comments. I'll move into the questions section, if you will, and we'll alternate first response between the two of you. So this first question I'll have Senator Johnson take first. This question is, the impact of the pandemic is significant for our local businesses. Statewide, small businesses are closing. Many of our local businesses benefited from the CARES Act dollars and other financial programs offered over the past few months. However, that's just not enough. What is your plan to ensure our businesses stay open?
Well, thank you for that, Lance. I think, from the Minnesota State Senate perspective, earlier this year we gave, during a special session, we had a program that gave out nearly $60 million in small business grants. Of course, the federal government had their PPP money, which, most businesses across the state have taken advantage of. Also before that were some EIDL loans. Once the pandemic started and we saw the country start to shut down, there was some immediate need for cash. And those EIDL loans help some of the businesses. There's also the CARES Act money. We see in Crookston right now and well, across Polk County and other counties. That CARES Act money is going out in the form of grants to different businesses. Now, what I don't want to see is that our businesses are continue to be held down in a way that requires us, I own a couple of businesses, and it requires us then to depend on the government for our long-term success. What we need to do is make sure that we are doing things safely. We have the control of safety within the businesses, within those institutions, to be able to make the call for the safety of their customers, and that our businesses can open up and dictate whether they themselves are able to stay open based on their business model.
Thank you. Senator Candidate Perkins.
So absolutely, keeping our businesses open is vital. There's one key part about Minnesota's plan on reopening. If we look to other states in this country, a state like Texas reopened their bars too soon and had to reclose them. This week, we saw in the Midwest, Illinois do the same thing, where they had gone down the path of reopening and then closed again. Minnesota has done an excellent job on staying that path and not backtracking. But how can we do better? Well, one is making certain that we are wearing masks. My opponent is correct that we don't want to depend on the government. We want to make certain that we are taking personal responsibility for the health of our communities. That means washing our hands, wearing masks, and wearing masks correctly. Additionally, I mentioned looking to other states. The state of North Dakota next to us with the PPP funding. North Dakota has the single highest rate of funds disbursement per capita in the nation, and that's not new. They had it in 2008 as well, after the financial collapse. That's because North Dakota has a state banking system that has been in place for over a century that does an amazing job of funneling funds straight to local businesses. We can implement that plan and help our businesses here.
Thank you. So question 2, I'll first pose to you, Senator Candidate Perkins. Share your view on the matter of the Section 179 bonding bill impact to our local agricultural community.
So Section 179 is vital. I am glad that it now exists, where there is Section 179 compliance thanks to the most recent bonding bill. But if we look at ag in Minnesota, back in 1980, we had over 105,000 independent farms that were operating. Now it's down to under 70,000 independent farms. The same amount of acreage is in play, but that number of farms is decreasing. We are seeing corporate consolidation really have a hard hit on our family farmers. Section 179 compliance is great, but there's a lot more that we can do to make certain that when we're helping the ag community, that the help doesn't just go to people who have a banker, a lawyer, and an accountant on staff in order to get that help. We need to make certain that we are helping those small family farmers. They are the backbones of our small community. Too often it is them that are falling through the cracks when it comes to helping ag in general. Section 179 is a great step. I'm glad it is now in place, but we can and should be doing more.
So 179 was an issue that came up after the 2017 tax bill at the federal level. In Minnesota, we never adopted the parity with the new limits of being able to accelerate your depreciation. That was something that we were big proponents for throughout 2018, 2019. We had it at the table. I was at the conference table. Democrats wanted to use that money for a different reason in their tax proposal, and it never got done. This year, it was also number one on our agenda in taxing. And even though it came together in a way that I did not appreciate, we got it passed. But there's much more that we can be doing, such as the 16% estate tax rate. So our family farms, when they pass it from generation to generation, they're getting hit with a tax bill that they've got to start reducing the size of their farm just to pay that tax bill, selling land. The other one that we could be looking at is the beginning farmer tax credit. Currently, what's happening is that you can't use that tax credit to give it to your son, to give it to your daughter, but now you have to do it outside of the family. That's an adjustment that we need to be making as well.
Thank you both. So question 3, I'll first pose to Senator Johnson. This question: what immediate steps should be implemented to ensure our government is and will remain fiscally responsible?
All right. So this is something that, this is a theoretical question then, because I don't know if anybody's actually said that our government has been completely fiscally responsible. But if we could change it and make it more so, I would love to see that. Right now, we're currently in the top 4 taxing states, whether it's in personal or business income tax. We're within the top 4. So we can't be raising taxes on individuals, on farms, on businesses right now, because we're at the top of our taxing limit. Not to mention that we're facing a $7 billion deficit within our budget. So we can't go looking back to people, to our constituents, to those folks, asking them to pay up more in this tough economic time. So we've got to be looking at our budgets across the state, whether it's DHS, whether it's transportation, whatever it is within those programs. How can we prioritize the spending so that our return on investment that we are spending, because we will be spending money at the state level, how are we going to make sure that that money gives us a return on investment?
So 3 important things to note when we're talking about Minnesota and fiscal stability and fiscal responsibility. One is that prior to COVID, we had a $2 billion surplus that Governor Walz wanted to move into the rainy day fund, which I'm very glad we had that, because then if we didn't, we'd be facing a $9 billion deficit instead of a $7 billion deficit. We know our old budgets did work and kept the state fiscally sound. Additionally, when we're talking about making certain that we tighten our belt in the correct way, there are investments to be made that need to be made, because it's not just what does it cost to make this investment, there's also always a cost if we don't make it. We just had our first snow yesterday, and that means it's on my list of things to do to cling wrap the windows in the house, something I'm certain a lot of you do as well. Yeah, does the cling wrap cost a little money and time? Sure. Does it save more money in your heating bill? Absolutely. We need to make certain that investments in education and infrastructure remain, because those pay for themselves many, many times over. And then finally, we need to be looking at new streams of income. There are people in the state looking to be taxed more. That's when we look to things like marijuana legalization. There are tax bases that want to exist and have helped other states.
Thank you. Question 4, beginning with Senator Candidate Perkins. Please address the $1.9 billion bonding bill and Governor Walz's emergency powers.
Absolutely. So when we look here in Crookston, that $1.9 billion bonding bill included $895,000 for the Crookston property, the Colburn property. And if you listen to the city council candidates, you know how big that investment is. When we look across the district, there was $20 million for the Lake Bronson Dam, $5.5 million for the Thief River Falls Airport, millions for flood mitigation in Roseau County, in Red Lake County, Greater Minnesota in-home daycare subsidy, $200 million in tax relief for Main Street and farmers. It was a vital bonding bill. My opponent voted against it. These things need to exist, and including Section 179 was in that bill. I understand both my opponent agree that Section 179 compliance should exist, but he voted against it. Now, when it comes to Governor Walz's emergency powers, every state is currently under some variety of state of emergency, all 50 of them. That includes Minnesota. Should the emergency powers continue to exist? I wish they didn't have to. I wish our legislature was doing their job more. But unfortunately, there are things that need to be done that way.
Thank you. Senator Johnson?
Well, yeah, thank you. And I'll start with the first, the most recent, is the bonding bill. So as my opponent has suggested, there are many things in that bonding bill. Many things in that bonding bill. A lot of them are good. $324 million for roads and bridges. PCA funding increase. That's a big one. Trooper pay increase. Yeah, our troopers need to be paid more, especially you looked at this summer and the work that they were doing after the fire that they were put under. And then we had the number of projects throughout the district here that Representative Keel and Representative Fabian and I have been working very hard to get in that bill. I had the Senate Capital Investment Committee up here, and we took a look at that Colburn property and whatnot. But there are 3 reasons. I see I got 15 seconds here. There are 3 reasons why I vote against that bill: process, substance, and structure. So I'll start with structure. With our state constitution, we've got Article 4, Section 17, that says the laws must embrace only one subject. This bill was the most clear violation of our constitution that I have ever seen while sitting in that seat at the Senate. And that's why I voted against that bill. We need to take that back and renegotiate that bill, because There was such a violation. That senior Democrat pulled me aside and said, look, this, if it gets challenged, it has a real opportunity to be turned over. Let's do our process. Let's follow the Constitution the way it should be done.
Thank you. Next question, first posed to Senator Johnson. What is your stance on our First Amendment?
Well, thank you for that question. First Amendment has, of course, many parts in it. The Establishment Clause and the prohibition of establishing a religion, abridging the freedom of speech, the freedom to assembly. As a First Amendment, what it really is guaranteeing is our freedoms. Our country is a country of laws, but the underlying principle to our nation is our freedoms. Our freedoms. And First Amendment secures our freedoms of speech, of assembly. I think of Norman Rockwell when I think of the First Amendment, when he has the four freedoms that he writes about, or that he painted on. You know, the freedom from want, the freedom from fear, the freedom to worship. You know, think of how many of those freedoms this year have been taken away from us. Think about that. The freedoms that we enjoyed just a few short months ago. What does your church look right now? Does it look the same as it did back in early March? I don't think so. So I believe in our First Amendment rights, and I will fight to protect them.
Thank you.
So obviously, the First Amendment is the First Amendment for a reason. It is the absolute first thing that needed to be clarified. And let's talk about it a little more specifically in this district. One of the most important things that obviously we're enjoying tonight is the freedom of the press. The Crookston Times has been covering local races, including profiles on all the candidates that have spoken tonight. That's vital. But if we look around the district, up in Roseau County, the War Road Pioneer, a paper that's been in print for 121 years, just went out of business. Our small town newspapers are suffering, and there is no replacement for those. If those continue to go under at the rate we're not just seeing here in rural Minnesota, but all around the rural parts of the country, we are a worse nation for it. We are absolutely going to suffer if we do not defend those press freedoms, especially in rural areas. Other states have set up policies that help make certain that rural papers and that papers serving needed areas get some financial assistance. We need places like the Crookston Times to stay in business, but also the Fertile Journal, the Kitson County Enterprise. We need them. They are a vital part of their First Amendment.
Thank you. Final question. First to be posed to Senator Candidate Perkins. As you know, we're a neighboring community to a state which is different in regard to the COVID pandemic. The mask mandate in particular is an area of contention. What measures should Minnesota maintain or implement for the duration of the COVID pandemic?
So obviously, we are a border district. We have that border with North Dakota right there. And as somebody who lives in East Grand Forks and whose two daughters go to school or go to daycare in Grand Forks, and both were exposed to COVID, both negative tests. But let me tell you, as a parent looking across the border at North Dakota and seeing a state with double the cases per capita that we have, North Dakota has about 44,000 cases per million, Minnesota has 22,000 cases per million. If we had the same case rate as North Dakota, the additional number of fatalities that Minnesota would have would be more than every single person over the age of 65 who lives in Crookston. The policies set forth in Minnesota have saved thousands of lives, and we need to recognize that, especially as we're comparing our response with across the border. That being said, things that to continue to implement: masks save lives, washing your hands save lives, socially distancing when available. None of these three things are relying on the government. All three of these things are personal responsibility. We can do better. We should do better. Please listen to the scientists and the doctors.
So what measures should be implemented for the continuation of the COVID pandemic? That's the question here. And I think it's the same thing that should have been done from the very beginning. Is we continue to hear up here and across the state from our governor that this is one Minnesota. This is one Minnesota. And from the very beginning, when he first got elected, I kept asking myself, what does one Minnesota mean? And I think we're finding out what that mantra means. That means that we are not going to take into account the individual differences of our communities, our schools, our families, our communities when dividing or designing policy. And what does that mean in this district? Well, that means a county like Kitson County that's had 12 positive tests so far according to the Kitson County Enterprise. 11 of them have fully recovered, the other one's in recovery. But we've shut down Roxy's Cafe, and they are on their balls of their feet right now trying to figure out ways to survive. We need to have policy that allows individual communities to have the flexibility to meet the threat that they are facing.
Thank you, and we want to conclude the night with 1-minute closing comments. If Senator-elect Perkins, if you'd like to close out a 1-minute comment.
Absolutely. So as many people have commented tonight, 1 minute for some of these questions is not enough. And this whole campaign season has been a struggle because things like the Polk County Fair and Oxcart Days, normal places where you would meet your local candidates, haven't happened. I've gone out of my way to put as much of myself as possible up on my website. If you visit Perkins, spelled just like the pancake restaurant, Perkins for MN1.com, I have dozens of policies written up there. I have hundreds of minutes of video of me talking about myself and hosting town halls with people in the district. Please, if you want to learn more about me, I am as transparent as possible about what I believe and why I believe it. As any good science teacher, all of my policies include numbers and citations with where I got those numbers. So please, if you want to know more about me, visit my website. Thank you to everybody for hosting tonight. I ask, please, fill out those ballots, come out and vote. I've got voting information on my website too if you need to know any more of that. And again, wash your hands, socially distance, wear your mask, wear it correctly. That's how we're going to save lives. It's how we're going to keep our state open. Thank you.
Senator Johnson, 1 minute.
Well, thank you. And again, I'd like to thank everybody for being here and putting this on tonight. I'd like to thank the voters of District 1 for the opportunity these last 4 years to serve you. It has been the greatest honor of my life. And I look forward to November 3rd and the opportunity to again serve you coming up. As Teddy Roosevelt once said, it doesn't matter, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And folks, this is my home district. This is where I was born and raised. My parents are here. My wife's parents are here. We're from here. Our classmates, our church. The reason I go down to St. Paul to fight for this district, because this isn't a place that I can just play my political fantasies out. It's my people. It's my home. And I care so deeply about what happens to us in our future. And that's why I want to head down to St. Paul again. Coming up this winter to serve you. So thank you for that opportunity, and I look forward to your vote on November 3rd.
Thank you both very much. That concludes this evening. We have certainly a special recognition to both of our media outlets, certainly our Facebook Live coverage. I look forward to watching rather than being up here. We'll be able to review that. And certainly the Crookston Times, we look forward to what your product may come out of what you've gathered from this evening. 27 candidates beginning at 6 p.m. I think we had a great night. Very good attendance and just excellent feedback from all of our candidates. So once again, thank you on behalf of the whole chamber, myself as chamber board, Lance Norman, Terry Heggie, executive director, and Carrie Bergquist, board member as well. Thank you very much.
And that is the Crookston Chamber of Commerce Meet the Candidates Forum. Again, we had the school board, Dave Davidson, Mike Tice, Frank Fee running for re-election, and also challenging for those three openings will be Marcia Miney and Jason Klinner. So a 5-person race for the 3 openings in school board. And then we had City Council in Ward 1. Jake Fee, the incumbent, is being challenged by Christy Jurdy. Ward 3, Clayton Briggs, the incumbent, being challenged by Blake Royal. Ward 5, Joe Kressel, the incumbent, being challenged by Casey Anderson and Mark Palmer. At large, Bobby Baird, the incumbent, being challenged by Morgan Hibma and Wayne Melby. And the county commissioners, District 1, Jerry Jacobson, the incumbent, being challenged by Travis Johnson. And the 3rd District, Gary Wilhite, running unopposed. And the 5th District will have a new county commissioner. Don Diedrich has decided not to run again, Mark Holey and Tim Finseth. Then the District 1B representative, we have incumbent Deb Keel, the Republican, being challenged by Cindy Ansbacher on the Democratic ticket. And the Senate District 1 in Minnesota, you heard Senator Mark Johnson, the Republican, being challenged by the Democratic Reed Perkins. And then we also heard from the 9th District, District Court, incumbent Assistant Chief 9th District Judge Jana Osted, and also the incumbent for the District Judge Assistant Chief Charles Halverson as well. So that wraps up our coverage. We will have the video replay available online at kroxam.com, and you can click on the story at the top of the page there. We'll have it there. We had one little blip during at the beginning and then during the city council, but most of the rest of it should be crystal clear. So we thank you for tuning in here this evening. And we'll have interviews with the candidates on our newscast. Those are going to be coming up here over the next week up to the election. So be listening for that. And the Crookston Times has had coverage in their paper with interviews with the candidates as well. So there's many ways between the Times, their website, and KROX, our website, on the radio as well. Many different ways to find out more about the candidates that you'll be voting for here on November 3rd if you haven't voted already. So thanks for listening, and thanks for tuning in to the Crookston Chamber of Commerce's Meet the Candidates Forum here on KROX.
To the Voice of the Valley, AM 1260, KROX in